It had to do with James Stewart Sharnick's criminal record. Our reporter was watching that. So we'll chat to our reporter about what the goings on there. James Stewart Sharnick was all over the media saying that he's not a criminal and everything that was said in the commissions were lies. He was going to open cases against the people that were talking about him. And it's come out that his criminal record, was deleted, but not quite deleted. So we're going to get an update on what happened there. Then we saw Defend Our Democracy has come out in reaction to Donald Trump's decision not to attend the G20 the G20 meeting. They're saying it's a continuation of a persistent campaign to not only undermine our sovereignty, meaning South Africa, but also seeks to spread disinformation and sow racial division among South Africa's public or within South Africa's public discourse. So we'll talk to Defend Our Democracy today, and we'll see what they have to say about what Donald Trump is saying and where they think Donald Trump is getting this information. We hope to hear from them. It's just after 5 o'clock today. As always, your phone lines, your messages, your texts, we'll squeeze those in throughout the program as well. If you don't know the numbers, you're just joining us for the first time, first of all, welcome. Good to have you along. You can find us on Twitter. If you're on Twitter, has it? And you can find us on Facebook. You can find us on YouTube now as well. You can see my face if you have to, but you can listen to us no matter where you are. On DSTV, you can listen to us on the FM channel. So get involved. There's no reason for you not to get involved. As always, phone numbers. You ready? 086 000 2032. Keys is taking your calls today. 086 000 2032. WhatsApp number, if you want to send voice notes, 0614 104 107. So plenty coming up. Let's start by going to the Madlanga Commission, where still in the witness box, former Ekurhuleni HR boss, Xolani Xisa, we're talking to the Madlanga Commission. He's talking about Dr. Imogen Mashazi's abuse of power to protect the suspended EMPE acting chief. Also going on about unfair suspension process that's ongoing and how he was suspended. So let's go back to that commission and get an update what's happening there.
The provision is crafted and might not be able to quote it verbatim, but it says in exceptional circumstances where an employer cannot be expected to follow the pre-dismissal procedures, the employer can summarily terminate the services of an employee. And I think it's a provision that I think our courts have said can be invoked in what would be regarded as war zone circumstances, like industrial action where the situation is beyond. They invoked that. They said it's exceptional circumstances. The fact that I raised points in limine, but well, it's just one of those.
All right, thank you.
Do you still have a copy of the 1st of March 2024 letter?
I have a copy of that letter, but it's not here. I have a copy of the letter. I think we can
make it available.
We can make it available as well as the representations that were made.
Because reading the 8 March letter on its own doesn't tell the full story.
Especially when you read that I've perused and considered your representations, and that's it. Yeah, but I think can make them available.
We'll obtain a copy of that letter, Commissioner Kumar. Mr. Ngisa, that then brings us to paragraph 105. You're on page 32, paragraph 105.
Yes.
Indeed. Please inform the Commission about your receipt of the report.
Yes, Commissioner. In October 2024, I was forwarded a report that is titled Forensic Investigation Report into Allegations of Defamatory Statements Made Against the City, Breaches of the Protection of Personal Information Act, and irregularities relating to the engagement and payment to attorneys, the name of the attorneys, in and about May to August 2023. That was forwarded to me by Chief Mapie.
That report is, you'd find it on page 351 of your annexure bundle. If I can assist you, Mr. Ngliza, you can also also have regard to page 370 as you deal with paragraph 107. So page 370
370.
can assist you in giving evidence as it relates to 107.
Yes. Commissioners, at the offset, I need to indicate that, again, this is unheard of. This was unheard of on two counts. You know, firstly, I still even have on my phone all sorts of issues that have been raised in the life of this municipality about officials in the municipality. You know, both on social media, in newspaper articles, things that have been sent to journalists concerning employees of the municipality, inclusive of Dr. Mashas. You know, there is a point where there were such gross allegations that were made about corruption, tender irregularities, and all sorts of things, beneficiation of employees and senior managers of the municipality in terms of their association with politicians, with service providers, and all sorts of things. Very, very gory things that have been said about all sorts of employees in the municipality. At no point whatsoever has the municipality ever commissioned a forensic investigation. Never. On another point, we've had instances where we would have investigations conducted, would have determinations made. Some determinations are made without even an investigation, and decisions will be taken that, you know what, we do not have a strong case, you know, properly taken, that there's no strong case to pursue a particular cause of action. No problem. You know, and even if you had attorneys appointed to assist the municipality in making those determinations, that has happened long before even Dr. Mashazi was a city manager. This report seeks to firstly say that there is an investigation that is conducted because of some remarks that are associated with the Beatley emails, the 20 August 2023 email and the 2nd September 2023 email. Number one, it seeks to investigate that, who's Beatley and all sorts of things, and whether indeed the remarks that have been made by Beatley are defamatory or not. That's what that's how they've characterized the investigation. You know, and it makes that finding that they were defamatory. However, we don't know who's Beatley. They can't find who's Beatley. But also then it goes to the dismally hearing, and it makes all sorts of findings about the dismally hearing. But key amongst the findings that it makes about the dismally hearing is.
Let me assist you, Mr. Ngliza.
Yes.
If you turn to page 391, 391. 391.
91.
Yes, 391 is where the heading conclusions begins.
I don't have on this bunch.
In the annexure bundle?
I don't have, unless, remember, this is not my original annexure bundle.
Let me give me a few minutes. Let me just.
Don't you have
All right, well, they sort out the paperwork at the Madlanga Commission and moving binders and folders around. We'll take a quick break from there as well. Back in a moment.
Ish, at school I was falling behind. They thought I wasn't trying, bruh. Truth is, I couldn't see well, and I felt as small as the words on the board. And then, teacher came to sit with me and realized I needed glasses. Bruh, now everything's changed.
Take time to listen. With enough love and support, children don't just catch up, they thrive.
Visit holdmyhand.org.za.
Together, we can change their future.
Attention, everybody. Diabetes affects millions of people in South Africa. Akwele is inviting everyone to unite for a healthier tomorrow. Our mission? To beat diabetes together. How? Get tested. Choose water. Eat healthy. Get active. Every bottle of Akwele natural spring water you buy makes a difference. Together, let's beat diabetes.
You're listening to the National Pulse.
All right, you haven't missed anything. Straight back to the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. They sorted out their paperwork.
The folly that exists in this report, having had the discussions that we did regarding the appointment process in terms of the disciplinary procedure collective agreement. On paragraph 13.7, it says, is ahead by appointing those attorneys as the city's legal representative in the Mkhwanazi disciplinary matter without having obtained Mkhwanazi's prior written consent. Breached the clause 774. And when you read the clause itself that they have quoted, it doesn't say that there must be consent. It says there must be agreement as the first option. But it goes on, after saying that unless both parties agree in writing to allow legal representation, or if the presiding officer, upon receiving an application by any party, determines that it is reasonable to allow legal representation, having regard to the applicable criterion. Now, there is no requirement that must get consent. It says get agreement. If you don't get agreement, apply for legal representation. This clause, commissioners, when we negotiated, and fortunately I was part of the negotiators, we took this clause verbatim from the Rule 25 of the CCMA. It's exactly like that. Either parties shall agree or there shall be an application. So it's not saying that to get consent, but most importantly, you would not know whether indeed you are to engage with the employee before you serve the charge. I don't know whether I'm making myself clear. The way that things are done, you appoint a presiding officer and a prosecutor. The prosecutor will craft the charges. Having crafted the charges, then you serve the employee with the charges. The employee, having received the charges, would make a determination on how he wants to respond to the charges. Firstly, do I, as an employee, want to represent myself in a matter of this nature, given the type of charges that have been leveled against me? Do I want a shop steward or trade union organizer or official to represent me in a matter of this nature? Or alternatively, am I going to source legal representation? Now, then those are the options that are open to me as an employee. If, having due regard to the type of charges, I take a view that I'm going to sort legal representation, then when the employer comes to me and says, listen, I've got a legal representative, I want us to engage on representation. As the employee, I am better positioned to apply my mind on the provisions of 77.4 in respect of whether indeed I agree to legal representation. And if I don't agree to legal representation, it doesn't mean that the employer cannot be legally represented. It doesn't mean that. I might say I don't agree, so fine, I don't agree, then the employer must go and apply in terms of this clause. But this person that was doing this investigation, even though clause 774 is clear. He even quotes it. He then says, no, but you've breached this because you didn't get the consent of the partners. If indeed employers are to get consents of employees, then they will never have legal representation. And there is a point, commissioners, where indeed our collective agreement outlawed legal representation. There is a point where indeed we had said as the parties in the bargaining council, no legal representation whatsoever. But then in 2018, we brought it back because of our experiences in disciplinary inquiries, especially disciplinary inquiries of very serious and complex misconduct proceedings. And it was agreed that we are going to use the CCMA rule and convert it into a provision in the DPCA. So this, it's just...
If this disciplinary process had not been terminated prematurely, how would this have unfolded to get to a point where legal representation was allowed?
All right. Firstly, let me make the point that clause 7.6, this is 7.7 that talks to legal representation for employer representative, the prosecutor. But 7.6 does not talk to legal representation in respect of the presiding officer. Okay, so you can appoint an attorney to be a presiding officer. There is no application that is required there. There is no agreement that is envisaged.
Let's just zoom in on 77.4.
Yes.
Which I understand to be about legal representation for the employer or the employee.
Exactly.
So how would that have unfolded to get to a situation where there would be legal representation as envisaged?
Now, what would happen and what happens in practice is that we appoint a prosecutor. If I appoint a firm of attorneys to prosecute, because I have to appoint them, the prosecutor must generate the charge sheet, no one else. The prosecutor that is appointed is the only person that is empowered to actually say, this is the charge sheet. So I can't draft a charge sheet and then after having drafted the charge sheet, serve the charge sheet on the employee, then appoint. It cannot happen that way. So we appoint, the prosecutor drafts the charge sheet, we serve the charge sheet. The employee then, even in the charge sheet, we mention that we have a right to have legal representation. So if the employee gets legal representation, it makes life easier then, because then it's easy. Both of us are legally represented. We get the agreement. We even submit it in writing that the parties have agreed, and that's it. Or the employee goes to his trade union, and the trade union can also agree that it's fine. Employer can be legally represented, no problem. But where the employee says, no, I'm not agreeing to legal representation, then we make the application to the presiding officer. It is then the presiding officer, having followed the criterion that is enumerated in the collective agreement, he will then make the determination that indeed legal representation is allowed or not. If he makes a determination that it is allowed, the process continues. If he makes a determination that it is not allowed, then the process comes back to me to then make an appointment of a suitably qualified person, either in the municipality or outside of the municipality from another municipality. So that's how we do it.
All right. At which point, though, leave out the stage of the preparation of the charge sheet and so on, I want you to address us closer to the stage of the actual hearing. At which stage would the employee and employer have engaged each other with a view to reaching agreement or not reaching agreement on legal representation?
What we normally do, commissioners, is that we first appoint a prosecutor, and then we engage the employee at the point of we serve then we engage the employee after serving the charges.
So it would have been at some point before the hearing.
Before the
It would have been at some point before the hearing.
yes. After the service, then we engage to say that, for instance, in the charge sheet, it would reflect who's the prosecutor in the charge sheet. And then the employee would know that the employer has appointed a legal representative in the charge sheet, And then because from the service of the charge sheet to the sitting of the hearing, there are timelines. So in that process, we get into this engagement with the employee. In most cases in the municipalities, the employee would have a trade union. I mean, in Ekurhuleni, close to about 95% of employees are trade union members. So you would then have the employee would sometimes you serve the employee, you also copy the trade union.
That's former Ekurhuleni Municipality Employee Relations Head Glenn Kleeser. He's continuing his testimony at the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. We'll be back with that after sport and traffic and news headlines as well. Don't forget, later on, we're going to get an update from that SAPS media briefing, excuse me, that was held in KwaZulu-Natal today. It's included a number of things, but the big news is the James Stewart Sharnick's criminal record. He is claiming that there were false allegations against him, but we're going to hear from the police today. Our reporter was watching what was happening there. And then later on today, Defending Our Democracy has reacted to Donald Trump's decision not to attend the G20 meeting. I see Mexico and Argentina have also pulled out of the G20 meeting as well, at least the big leaders meeting. So that's an ongoing issue. Right now, though, 3:30, let's get the latest news headlines with Ondela.
Thank you, John. On the news headlines, Parliament's ad hoc committee has taken a unanimous decision not to continue with the testimony of the Chief of Staff of the Police Ministry, Cedric Nkabinde. He was appearing before the committee that is looking into allegations of criminal infiltration, corruption, and political interference in the justice system. A video recording depicting retired Ekurhuleni City Manager Imogen Mshazi and suspended acting EMPD Chief Julius Mkwanazi at a departmental year-end party has come under the spotlight at the Madlanga Commission. And the Emalahleni local municipality in Mpumalanga has been fined 650 million rand for environmental crimes committed between March 2019 and March 2025. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off with Gauteng, the N3 southbound has a stationary vehicle at Geldenhuys interchange. The N14 northbound has delays approaching the R101 on-ramp towards the city centre, and the M2 eastbound in central Johannesburg has delays towards Moy Street. In KZN, JG Champion Drive in Ottawa is where crashes reported between the R102 and Palmview Drive. The R74 Olivier Pass in Bergville is where fatal crashes reported on the pass, so you're asked to expect delays. And the N2 southbound has a stationary vehicle reported near Umgeni Road. In Cape Town, the N2 outbound slow moving towards Bunga Avenue, the N1 outbound is slow moving towards Okavango Road, and the N3 southbound slow moving through Bishop's Court. With your traffic update, I'm Irma Jean.
This is SAFM Sports with Doming Kapele.
No mention of Spaghetti Junction yet. So we'll keep a close eye on that. Tumi, how's it?
I'm good. How are you?
What have we got today?
Well, we started things off with rugby, where Rassie Erasmus has made 11 changes to his Springbok side that will face Italy in Turin on Saturday. Captain Siya Kolisi is one of only 4 players retaining in the starting 15 alongside Juan Venter, Kurtley Arendse and Damian Willemse. Hendrik Pollard returns at fly half, partnering with Morne van den Berg, while Edwin van der Merwe joins Arendse on the wings. Ethan Hooker and Caden Moody form a new look midfield, and up front it's a complete reshuffle with Zachary Porthen and Johan Grobler joining Venter in the front row. Erasmus has also gone for a 6-2 bench split with Kwagga Smith and Archies Snyman back in the mix. In terms of football, Amajimbo's coach Vela Kumalo remains optimistic that they can go through the last 16 of the FIFA Under-17 World Cup on Saturday when they meet Japan after the conclusion of the group stage matches on Tuesday. Amajimbos, who finished second in Group A, were pitted against Group B winners Japan, who beat Portugal and Morocco to finish the group with 7 points from 3 matches.
Look, I think we did pretty well considering the fact that we had a lot of players injured, and that on its own has helped us. I think now we are having a clean bill of health. Every player is available, and they are raring to come for the competition. And it's going to be very, very critical and hectic for us to get good players to start the game, finish it up. And everyone has played. They all played. They all have minutes of the World Cup. So it is good, and it will be a good headache for us to say who do we choose, who we not choosing for this important game. We really, really want to go through. It will be good for the boys. It will be good for the country. It says we are doing something right with the country, and I don't really see us not going to the last 16. Um, I think we will go through and through.
Meanwhile, Richards Bay coach Ronnie Gabriel says that he'll continue putting in the hard yards to make the Natal Rich Boys a side no opponent takes lightly. Building on this commitment, Gabriel watched his youthful side push Orlando Pirates all the way before falling 1-0 in last weekend's Carling knockout semi-final.
I feel that we could be much better in the final third. We could get better in those areas. Chances present itself. We also need to take it and win games from those chances that are presenting themselves. Maybe improve in terms of our conversion rate, and it's something that we work with daily at training. And it's a growing squad. It's a team that's full of youngsters. They will learn from this experience here, and they will get better going forward.
Well, then France captain Kylian Mbappe says that the national football team wish to remember all the victims of the 2015 Paris terror attacks as they prepare to play on the 10th anniversary of the atrocity. Today, back in 2015, a series of attacks in Paris and around the south of France during a friendly match between Leblanc and Germany left a total of 130 people dead. In cricket, England captain Ben Stokes took 6 wickets today in his first game since July during England's only warm-up game before the first Ashes Test against Australia. Stokes had not played since hurting his shoulder against India, but put on a fitness or put away or put aside fitness concerns to bid against the second-tier England's Lions in Perth. He ended the day on one of low-key 3-day with 6 for 52, while Will Jacks 84 and Ben McKinney impressed with the bat as Lions made 382. In terms of boxing, former world heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua is in talks to fight YouTuber Jake Paul. Now, Joshua has not fought since he was stopped in the 5th round against Daniel Dubois in September last year. Eden Hearn, who is Joshua's promoter, said in August it was likely that Joshua's next fight would be against Paul. And today confirmed that talks had taken place between the two champs. Now it's a thing with these YouTubers.
Well, it's just Jake Paul, really.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess.
I mean, I get it. They need the money. Do they really need the money?
They do.
I'm just reading the difference in poundage here. Anthony Joshua, 250 pounds. Jake Paul's 135 pounds. Not right.
It's all about the money.
Why? What?
Is it watering down the sport, though?
Yes.
Definitely.
The problem is that people pay money to watch it, so they're going to continue to do it. It's this. Yeah, it's just like a spectacle that we want to watch. Let's see the best boxers box against each other, but we have that, but people rather watch Jake Paul.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Because he's more famous.
Famous. It's also just the marketing hype behind it. It's the willy won't he kind of thing. You want to see him get beaten up, or you want to see him beat somebody. It's sad for the sport, I feel.
It is. Well, that's it from my side for now. I'll have more in the next hour.
With the ever-changing financial landscape, it can be difficult to make sense of all the moves at times. Join me, Jimmy Moyaha, on the SAFM Market Update with MoneyWeb, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 to 7 p.m, as we break down the key market trends, top financial stories, and smart investment insights, all in one place. It's everything you need to stay financially informed and ahead of the curve.
You're listening to the National Pulse.
Just about 20 to 4, you with SAFM. Let's go to the Madlanga Commission again, where former Ekurhuleni Municipality Employees Relations Head, Xolani Mgqiza, is still giving his testimony.
Put in place for the employee is that in the absence of that agreement, remember, it's not automatic that even the attorney that I've appointed is admitted into the dismally hearing. It's not automatic. The presiding officer still has to make a determination. And if the presiding officer having due regard to the factors that are listed in 7.7.4 makes a determination that no, you know what, this is you're going overboard by appointing legal representatives. The chairperson, and it has happened, the chairperson would say, this matter is not that complex. This person is not that senior. You do have suitably qualified people that can deal with this. And indeed, if the chairperson makes that ruling, safeguarding, of course, also the interests of the employee in this particular regard, who would not have been au fait with the processes, which is very, very minimal in our situation. Then the employee, the employer would then do away with legal representation and appoint a suitably qualified internal prosecutor.
That
is how it has played out all along, Chair.
I don't want to belabor the point. In your introductory remarks in responding to my question, you emphasized the level of the employee or employees. My question is less about that. It is more about the prescript. Because the prescript says there must first be agreement, failing which there must be an application. So this proceeds from your formulation, proceeds from a premise that already says you are free to get legal representation. It says nothing about you are free to refuse or not to agree that either of us should have legal representation. But as I say, I don't want to belabor the point you've given your response. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Mr. Ngiza, you've had an exchange with the Commission regarding the findings summarized in paragraph 109.1 of your statement. 109.1 on page 33.
Yes.
Yes. With regard to the actual report, as it's set out on page 393, I would ask you to comment to the Commission in light of the contents of paragraph 109.2. Do you see that?
At 110?
Paragraph 109.2.
Yes.
Thank you.
Now, this finding that was made is linked to the one that says that I should have gotten prior consent before appointing the what you call the attorneys to prosecute. And unfortunately, again, it talks to how we have always interpreted this particular provision. And quite honestly, we have never actually even received a challenge that our appointment of attorneys was incorrect, and the manner in which we've appointed them, even in terms of unfair dismissal disputes that were handled by attorneys in the municipality and elsewhere. So this one then says, because we have appointed those attorneys without having received prior consent from the employee, therefore, the monies, because the attorneys then submitted an invoice to the effect that certain fees were owed for the services that they rendered, the attorneys as well as the advocate, and the total value thereof was 45,470. Perhaps one of our biggest challenges, commissioners, and I'm sure that other labor relations practitioners in the sector would also have this view, because that is what we do, is if indeed it is correct that you must first get the consent, remembering that even if you don't get the consent, you can still apply to the presiding officer. So it is not automatic
that legal representation is not allowed. So even if indeed there was no consent, the application could still be made to the presiding officer, and that is what we always do. That even if there is no consent, we'll still apply to the presiding officer. It is the presiding officer who is seized with the matter, who then makes a determination on whether indeed legal representation is accepted or not.
For the record, Mr. Nziza, I don't want you to go home on the understanding that my questions were suggesting that you should not have been assisted by attorneys in formulating the charge sheet, for example. And also, I would imagine that an application failing agreement for legal representation could be made even on the day when the proceedings are to commence. And if that is correct, if that's a correct interpretation, you would obviously be going there with your lawyers ready to run with the process in the event that the application for legal representation is successful. So don't leave this room thinking that I'm saying that you should not have engaged lawyers. I'm by no means suggesting that. It's more just about the formulation of that initial document that I'm saying perhaps there is a need for a reconsideration. That's all. I'm not at all saying. So I'm not saying that there was anything the matter with, for example, having lawyers in respect of all costs to the or costs in the amount that has been indicated ought not to have been engaged.
I get you.
Or rather that attorneys should not have been engaged with the result that the indicated costs were then incurred. I'm by no means suggesting that. I'm not there at all.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. And I appreciate, Chair, the wisdom that the chairperson is actually sharing on this particular aspect. And I think my colleagues around the country who are observing these proceedings would also, take them to heart, take their wisdom to heart, so that indeed we fine tune this. We fine tune this. Thank you, Chair. But the point that I was making, Chair, is that indeed the determination that is then made by the forensic firm to say that it was wasteful expenditure to have appointed the attorneys to deal with this matter is off base, because had Mkhwanazi been charged, he accepted the charge sheet as per any normal situation in the city, and the matter would have gone to the dismally hearing on the 3rd of July, and indeed the dismally hearing would have proceeded. We are confident, and we were confident that even in our application for legal representation would have been successful. But when you read this report suggests, Chair, that there was a withdrawal of the dismally hearing. And now we have actually dealt with the so-called withdrawal.
If I
And-
can
Yes, ma'am.
assist you, Mr. Ngiza, page 393, paragraph 13.8.3. 13.8.3.
13.8.3. Now, this finding, Chair, that actually wants to say that the expenditure becomes fruitless because there was already a withdrawal. The expenditure is incurred before there was a withdrawal, So it cannot be that the expenditure becomes fruitless because of the withdrawal. Now, and secondly, I still maintain that there was no withdrawal of the disciplinary process. I never withdrew it as the person that had the delegated authority to establish the process. Now, and it actually, in the entire report, the fact that the charges were never served, or rather there was an instruction not to serve the charges, is not dealt with in this report, which is a critical element of how the process collapsed, so to speak. Instead, the emphasis that is put is on the withdrawal that purportedly happened on the 22nd of June 2023. I maintain that if indeed there was no stoppage of my manager from serving Kwanazi, there would have been a disciplinary inquiry and would not even be sitting discussing this report, because then the inquiry would have proceeded properly. I believe that the attorneys that were appointed would have succeeded in making a point that we indeed, must be legally represented based on the seniority of the employee and the complexity of the issues, as well as the seriousness of the allegations. So yeah, unfortunately, again, we've got a report that is crafted. The key person who appointed and dealt with the issues is not consulted. There is no engagement. There is no request even for a submission, and adverse findings are effectively made about me without even the courtesy, the courtesy. As much as they say that I was no longer in the employ of the municipality, I can tell you, commissioners, I've had a number of instances where we have investigations, we've got processes that must be dealt with, and we have to go to a person who's no longer part of the institution and request, a submission, a statement, or whatever that will assist us to make informed decisions and to take the processes forward. We even, if indeed the person is no longer part of the institution and it's a legal process, we subpoena the person to come and provide critical information or evidence pertaining to the matter. But this report gets produced and there is no engagement at all.
Isn't the simple point, this, Mr. Mliza, on this, that if there was a fruitless and wasteful expenditure within the meaning of Section 78, you couldn't have been the cause of it because you didn't make the decision not to continue with the disciplinary hearing. Yet, whatever happened to it, you didn't make that decision. You didn't prevent it proceeding. It's that simple, really.
You are correct, Madam Commissioner. Actually, I think your outlook on it is spot on.
Yes.
Because indeed, if there is a fruitless and wasteful expenditure, then the persons that stopped the serving of the charges, which effectively stopped the disciplinary hearing,
yes,
caused the fruitless and wasteful expenditure.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mliza, before we turn to the next theme, I would ask you to have a look at paragraph 110.4 on page 34, 110.4, and please make some concluding remarks to the Commission on what you believe was the true aim or the real purpose that motivated the commissioning of the report.
Thank you, Commissioners. I advance a view here that indeed, in my view, this report was procured with the main purpose of further suppressing the scandal involving Brigadier Mkhwanazi. Because we read this report nowhere, and I think at some point, Madam Commissioner, there is an interaction that we had about whether indeed there is a report that actually speaks to the merits post the Erasmus report. And I indicated that there is a report, but it doesn't speak to the merits. This report doesn't talk to the merits at all. Instead,
I thought such a report would be the 13 December 2023 report authored by the two advocates.
The one advocate.
Yeah, this one seems to be a witch hunt to look for people who leaked information to Jeff Wicks, and also to investigate whether there was wasteful expenditure. So it doesn't deal with the merits of the allegations against Mkhwanazi. It's really a witch hunt to go after people who exposed that wrongdoing.
Exactly, commissioners. And to further illustrate that, commissioners, I'm not sure, but I know that that article is not in this bundle. In the News City Press newspaper on the 28th of September 2025, an article was published in City Press Online, where indeed this issue of the blue lights is articulated, and the response of both Mashazi and Behari in that article quotes this report to say that Mkhwanazi was vindicated by this report. No, they say that I think I even saw another article where I think on Saturday or so, where indeed Dr. Mashazi says she had commissioned an external investigation, and that external investigation proved that Mkhwanazi did nothing wrong. I have still not seen any investigation that actually says Mkhwanazi did nothing wrong. Mkhwanazi himself, in an interview on the 25th of September 2025 with ENCA, says to the journalist there are 3 investigations that have cleared him. I liked how the journalist responds and says, no, you have not been cleared. And he effectively makes reference to this report as one of those investigations. He is making reference to the letter of the 22nd of June 2023, the so-called withdrawal letter, as well as the legal department letter to IPID, that those have cleared him of wrongdoing. But in my professional expertise and experience, I have not come across any investigation that has cleared Brigadier Mkhwanazi of the actual misconduct that was alleged. None whatsoever. So indeed, I agree with you, Commissioner, that this was intended, firstly, to sanitize the blue light scandal and therefore go after, because it doesn't only go after me, it also goes after the senior management of EMPD and says they must be dealt with as well. And what have they done? All they did is to investigate allegations of misconduct as what is expected of any manager. Thank you, Counsel.
Thank you, Mr. Ngiza. That then brings us to our last major theme on page 34. It's titled Weaponization of the Metro Police and Labor Practices. Do you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Before you address the commission on that, please have regard to the table you've prepared at paragraph 119.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And that, please then use that table to assist you as you address the commission from paragraph 111.
So I can just go through it all once.
You can summarize it with reference to the table, because the table condenses and reflects your experiences to the commission.
Commissioners, this theme effectively talks to the harassment that I have endured from the 7th of September until I think the 8th of March. On the 7th of September, when I was served with the pre-suspension letter that we've looked at earlier on, I was approached by 3 Metro Police officers
recall, commissioners, that I described how the offices are situated. I was in the building where Mr. Sheka sits, and then I was approached by three Metro Police officers at the parking lot. I mean, it's an open public area where I was served with a letter saying I must go home. I mean, I come from my boss's offices instead of in the privacy of an office. I was given a letter in public with Brigadier Mkwanazi observing and monitoring the situation.
You can see in Glenn Liza's face just the pain. I mean, I don't know if it's coming across with the audio, but you can see the pain just before this last inquiry from the leader of evidence there, the advocate. He closed his eyes and he put his hands up to his face. You could see this is a very difficult thing for the former Carolina Municipality Employee Relations Head, Glenn Liza. They should come to an end. Normally they finish quite promptly at 4:00. But if it does continue, we'll see if we can go back there after the news at 4:00. We are, however, going to be doing our crossing on the G20, shifting towards practical action on digital skills is our focus today. There is this digital divide on the continent, and we'll see if the G20 can close that up. Looking forward to have that conversation with my colleagues at Channel Africa as well. Right now, though, it's 4:00.
Thank you, John. On the top stories, the ad hoc committee will not continue with Nkabinde's testimony, and the Malahledi municipality fined millions of rands for environmental crimes. For SFM News, I am Onde Lambana, and a very good afternoon. Parliament's ad hoc committee has taken a unanimous decision not to continue with the testimony of the Chief of Staff of the Police Ministry, Cedric Nkabinde. He was appearing before the committee that is looking into allegations of criminal infiltration, corruption, and political interference in the justice system. Kabinde had trouble providing clarity to the committee on the sequence of events when he made contact with controversial Northwest businessman Brown Mokgotsi. Several MPs said Nkabinde's statement before them was misleading and therefore unacceptable. Committee Chairperson Mulapili Khanyane explains their decision.
Honorable members, you have said it here that we are not in a position or were in no position to proceed with today's hearing, given the quality of information that has been presented before this meeting.
A video recording depicting retired Ekurhuleni city manager Imogen Mashazi and suspended acting EMPD Chief Julius Mkwanazi at a departmental year-end party has come under the spotlight at the Madlanga Commission. The video shows Mkwanazi telling Mashazi that they will die and take a bullet for her. The video also shows other people believed to be employed by the municipality singing her praises. Former Ekurhuleni Divisional Head Xolani Nxiza testified that the video depicts the close relationship that Mashazi and Mkwanazi enjoyed.
And I don't take this to be I'll take a bullet for you in the ordinary sense of a VIP protector protecting their principal. But I take this statement to be a statement that is issued by a person who truly believes in the relationship that they have with the other person. Because love me. And therefore I would go to the ends of the world for you, because I am where I am and who I am because of you, my mother.
KwaZulu-Natal police say they're preparing 2 dockets for referral to the Provincial Director of Public Prosecutions and the Magistrates Commission. This is regarding reasons for entering into a plea agreement for a lesser sentence for controversial businessman James Sharnick. Acting Deputy Provincial Commissioner for Crime Detection Anthony Gopal says Sharnick was involved in cases which included carjackings and motor vehicle theft. Gopal addressed the meet in Durban this afternoon.
So I'm producing to you members of the public and media that there are 18 such dockets. These dockets, when you open these dockets, it is syndicated. In most of these dockets, Mr. Stewart is the one who had sold these people who had possession of the cars. In some instances, he was in possession of a car. But in majority of the cases, he sold his cars.
The Emalahleni local municipality in Mpumalanga has been fined 650 million rand for environmental crimes committed between March 2019 and March 2025. The High Court in Mpumalanga found the municipality guilty of unauthorized waste disposal, water pollution, and failure to comply with the environmental regulations. The municipality allowed untreated sewage to overflow into rivers and streams, causing significant environmental damage and health risks. The fine includes 500 million rand to be used for rehabilitation and repair of wastewater infrastructure. And spokesperson Monica Nyuswa.
These offences were committed between March 2019 and March 2025. The National Prosecuting Authority welcomes the finalization of this matter and reaffirms its commitment to prosecuting environmental crimes without fear, favor, or prejudice. Offences of this nature contribute to climate change, water contamination, and air pollution, posing serious risks to both the environment and public health.
Government departments in the United States are preparing to reopen after President Donald Trump signed a bill to end the longest shutdown in history. The short-term budget comes into force after both houses of Congress voted to approve the package. Democrats have been refusing to reopen government unless Trump agreed to extend health insurance subsidies. But the Senate earlier this week said several broke rank to vote with the Republicans. Recapping the top story, Parliament's ad hoc committee has taken a unanimous decision not to continue with the testimony of the Chief of Staff of the Police Ministry, Cedric Ngabinde. He was appearing before the committee that is looking into allegations of criminal infiltration, corruption, and political interference in the justice system. I am Ondelambana for SAFM News. Headlines at 4:30.
In sports, the South Athletics South Africa gearing up for the National 10-kilometer championships in Mangaung. Danny Jordan says that FIFA's under-17 revamp a game changer, and Sri Lanka players told to stay in Pakistan despite security fears. More details at 4:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N3 northbound in Bedford, slow moving on the link to the N12 east at Kiluli's interchange. Greyston Drive eastbound in Sandton is slow moving towards the M1 highway, and Paul Kruger Street northbound in Pretoria queuing towards Lavender Road. In KZN on the N3 eastbound, a stationary truck before Camperdown, the N3 eastbound in Pietermaritzburg has roadworks reported with traffic restrictions towards New England Road, and on the R102 in Phoenix, roadworks with traffic restrictions between Siposetu Road and Phoenix Highway. In Cape Town, Kloofneck Road outbound slow moving through Tamboerskloof, Albert Road is slow moving through Woodstock, and Victoria Road outbound slow moving through Woodstock. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
At school, I was falling behind. They thought I wasn't trying, bruh. Truth is, I couldn't see well, and I felt as small as the words on the board. And then, teacher came to sit with me and realized I needed glasses. Bruh, now everything's changed.
Take time to listen. With enough love and support, children don't just catch up, they thrive.
Visit holdmyhand.org.za.
Together, we can change their future.
This November, SAFM proudly presents the 3rd annual lecture.
And as the Freedom Charter says, no legitimate government could claim authority unless it is based on the will of the people. And I think sometimes people forget that.
SAFM invites you to our third annual public lecture delivered by Chancellor of the Nelson Mandela University, Dr. Geraldine Fraser Muleketi. The theme of the lecture is Confronting Inequality, Corruption and Unemployment, Rebuilding South Africa's Social Contract for Inclusive and Sustainable Growth. The lecture will take place on the 27th of November 2025 at the Indaba Hotel, Spa and Conference Center in Four Ways, Johannesburg. Secure your seat by emailing us at rsvp@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m. You are listening to John Gericka on SAFM.
Well, you heard in the news. Oh, sorry. How's it, by the way? Welcome to the show if you just joined us. John Gericka in for Ashraf. It's the National Pulse. You heard in the news there about the Senzo Mqulu's Chief of Staff, Cedric Nkabinda, who was at the ad hoc committee in Parliament. Some other news that's just come out now is the economic freedom fighters are opening a case of perjury against the Senzo Mqulu's Chief of Staff. They say, the EFF in a press release, they say that Mr. Nkabinda lied in his statement before the ad hoc committee, resulting in the adjournment of the ad hoc committee. The case will be opened under the following details, and it's going to be opening. They're going to open the case at 5 o'clock today. They're telling the press where they'll be. So the EFF's Deputy Secretary General Commissar Lee Ann Matthys will open a case of perjury against Police Minister Senzo Mqulu's Chief of Staff, Mr. Cedric Nkabinda. So that's breaking news there. So much to keep an eye on, but the Madlanga Commission is continuing. We do have that crossing with Channel Africa in a moment. We're going to be talking about the G20's agenda when it comes to tech and closing the digital divide. And we're going to hear a couple of stories about that. Martin van Zier will be chatting to us today. He is the strategy lead group technology at Sanlam. So I'm looking forward to have that conversation along with my colleagues at Channel Africa. Until then, which is in a few minutes' time, let's go back to the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry.
Where people would be raided at night by police. Then the last one I sent was at 7 o'clock. Kulungile, akuqhutywe. It's okay, let's proceed. Now, as you can see, commissioners, all of them are one ticks. You know, all of these messages that I sent to Ms. Gasheka were one ticks.
Please forgive me for a bit of levity on something so serious. I see that 2 of the messages are deleted. Those were probably expletives.
Yeah, they were. Honestly, no, they are correct. I had written them in some rather crude Xhosa, with then I was like, no, but this is my boss, so I deleted them. Quite honestly, I was really vexed by this, Then I reflect on paragraph 115 that I sent Mr. Gasheka these messages questioning the conduct of sending police with blue lights and sirens to my house at night and thus harassing my family. Later, my wife advised me, honestly, commissioners, I was not aware. So my wife advised me that if the message has one tick and you no longer can view the person's profile picture, it meant the person has blocked you on WhatsApp. I was not aware, because when I came back from church, well, I proceeded. I mean, I had a church engagement. I could not just leave it. When I came back from church, and now I'm sitting with my wife, and we're talking about this situation, and then I'm like, no, but dimthumele in messages. She's like, I've sent her messages, but she's not responding, and she's like, okay, let me see. I show her the phone. She's like, did you have her profile picture before this? I'm like, yes, I did. She says, you are blocked. And since that day, I remain blocked. And again, this is a suspension process, Commissioner. It's not a termination, and nowhere near termination at that stage. For my superior then to block me in the midst of this conduct, and then I get blocked. I'm like, oh, okay. Also, to just link that, On the 7th, I received the pre-suspension letter. On the 8th, when I tried to send an email talking about irregularities in the pre-suspension letter that I picked up, I discovered that I was also blocked on the email system of the municipality. I could not access the system of the municipality. So in my view, it then meant that I was actually suspended from the 7th, because we ordinarily don't block people on the system.
Just remind us, the reasons for your suspension were two: the qualifications and you approving invoices contrary to a memorandum.
Yes.
So because of that, 4 police cars in sirens and blue lights are sent to your house.
Yes.
I mean, this is something you could have received the next day when you go to work.
Yes. The next morning, on the 12th of September, we were awakened by a siren at the gate. And this is around 6 a.m. in the morning. You know, my third-born son was already awake, preparing to go to school, and he comes to the room. Tata, kukhona abantu egeyithini. Aw, kwabantu egeyithini. And I think at that time he was doing grade 8. So he's like, but there are people at the gate, you know.
You were there, SAFM. That's the Madlanga Commission on the go. We'll have a little bit more there. If that continues, let's continue with our weekly update with Channel Africa.
G20 in Africa, exclusive to Channel Africa, championing Africa through solidarity, equality, and sustainability.
This must be our penultimate G20 feature, with the G20 summit coming in a really short while, the 22nd and the 23rd of November in Nasrec. And this afternoon, as we do between Channel Africa, Africa in Business, and SAFM's The National Pulse, we focus on some of the key topics and key issues that the G20 concerns itself with. And today, as the G20 agenda shifts towards practical action and digital skills, the urgency of closing the gap for youth employment as well as innovation across Africa continues to be an area of focus. Martin van der Zee, who is strategy lead group technology at Sanlam, says even though there are efforts among participants in the 2025 G20 and B20 task forces to develop integrated and actionable responses to the demands of a new digital era, the continent's response requires extensive realignment of policies, of institutions, as well as resources that can drive the realization of the benefits that technology enables. And I tell you what, John Gerika, as we continue focusing on this, I'm sure this is also something that's really going to be coming out on the weekend of the 22nd.
Yeah, we had a conversation. Tech Africa has been on the go down in Cape Town over the last couple of days as well, and this is one of their highlights as well, is trying to close that gap in Africa. And as Van Zyl continues to say, that gap threatens growth and widens the disparities as adoption of tools such as AI accelerates in developed economies at a pace that surpasses our continent, and that public-private partnerships can offer that needed solutions. However, he's emphasized that these collaborations must prioritize developing digital skills, creating job opportunities, we need those, and promoting economic participation, especially in fintech, at a faster pace.
So let's get into the how of all of this. And for this conversation, we joined this afternoon by Martin van der Zee, strategy lead group technology at Sanlam. A very good afternoon to you. Welcome to Africa in Business and the National Pulse.
Good afternoon, Tammy. Thanks for having me, and hello to your listeners as well.
Martin, G20, B20, these big task forces, they all get together. How are they going to shape Africa's approach to closing this digital skills gap?
Yeah, John, I think it's probably been our biggest focus at the moment is Sanlam, is how do we move beyond the talk and the policy and just drive straight into action? How do we just do more as opposed to talk more? Because you are right. I think one of you said that gap is widening significantly. The rest of the world is accelerating. And if we get left behind, it's a bit of a compounding effect. So, I mean, I think one thing that stood out for us is the public-private partnership is key. The private sector can't sit on their hands about this and do nothing about it. They actually have to invest and take a bit of risk and lead and do their part in it. So I think that becomes quite key. And then, we've got some wonderful financial institutions and other institutions doing practical things about this. I mean, if you look at someone like AWS, they've got the skill center in the city center where you can walk in, get skilled up on cloud and AI and other things, and walk out and get linked up with opportunities. Or someone like CodeSpace, who instead of taking you through a traditional university 3-4 years, they'll put you on a 6-month crash course and teach you how to code. And there's a lot of bursaries and other such mechanisms they use to give people with fewer opportunities a chance. And they've got a really successful placement rate where an organization can sponsor that person, they get upskilled and they begin delivering. So there's certainly practical things out there. I suppose we just need a few more of them.
And as you mentioned that, Martin, it just becomes so much more apparent how learning has changed and how capacitating yourself for a career and being able to make an impact in the world, how that has evolved. It's not business as usual. But I wonder if there's alignment between the discussions that you've been having. The G20, B20, you've been having these ongoing discussions around digital transformation. But is your agenda aligned with Africa's own frameworks, such as the African Union's digital transformation strategy?
I think so. I think it's just not into action yet. I think we just really have to take that next step, and hopefully that's what next week entails. I mean, and Africa has got brilliant success stories. I mean, Ghana's 1 million coders initiative, right? That was incredible, what they managed to achieve there. And if you've spent any time in Kenya or Nigeria, you will see the youth actively participating in the digital economy and upskilling themselves. So I think it's aligned, but I think again it's the action that's missing, and I suppose that's where we can learn from the likes of Vietnam and others. But I mean, a couple of the Sanlam team were in Vietnam recently, in line with our partnership with Time, and one of them said when he went out on a Friday night, he says that there wasn't a lot of partying. There was just young people, the youth, sitting in coffee shops writing code. And he thought that was amazing. And we all thought, imagine it could be like that on this side.
Oh, it's a different kind of party.
Yeah, it's a different party. Yeah.
We need cheap data. We need cheap data. There are the worries about the big boys not coming to the G20. Donald Trump skipping out, Mexico adding their name in there, Argentina. I see China's getting in, pulling out as well. So the remaining countries, how can they help close this digital divide, and how important is that partnership with the really rich countries on the planet?
Oh, that's really key. I mean, we're a little bit behind in many respects for many reasons, but we do have a lot of interest from the rest of the world to try and see Africa succeed. There's also that little hidden agenda that Africa is the next sort of horizon of growth, right? So there's a lot of people interested in pushing into Africa, and we see it more and more daily with our institutional investors. I think they can help with capital and experience and platforms, and then getting those core infrastructure things right. If you don't have data and you don't have cloud credits or AI credits, you're just not going to learn. So they can come a long way in helping us just put very practical infrastructure in place, platforms that then lets us do something with it and sort of accelerate it.
And that word practical coming out of your mouth once again this afternoon, Martin. And on that issue of practicality, what role should the private sector and particularly businesses that are represented in the B20, what role should they be playing in translating this global policy into tangible training and job opportunities across Africa? So the kind of datelines that we're having are the kind of datelines that they're having in Vietnam. And there's this culture of digital culture of data and learning and innovation that becomes trendy amongst the youth, but also just so accessible.
Accessible, that's the key thing. And I think that's part of our role, is making tech and digital learning platforms accessible, and not just your slideshows or online courses, but things where people can dig their hands into and their minds into. And, the word bandied around a lot is regulatory sandboxes, but those are AI and cloud and data platforms that are made accessible to people where they can sign up, run practical courses or with ChatGPT next to them to learn something practical, and then present it back to industry. And then industry either give them an opportunity with that or employ them. And then I think the second thing is that industry and companies must take risk, right? You have to hire and invest into people that might not work out, or maybe they're not the best, but you take a chance on them and upskill them and give them a chance. And then pushing into programs like CodeSpace and AWS to expand that horizon is quite key as well. But I think it's mostly about giving people a chance and investing into programs. And what's interesting is if you invest into the youth and you look at other countries like India, they pushed a lot of digital training into youth, and I think the unemployment rates amongst youth went down from 9 to 4%. But they also got massive financial inclusion off the back of that, because the youth build for the youth and the youth build for digital. So yeah, we certainly have a very pragmatic responsibility to do something and not just talk from the sidelines.
I'm very confident. I mean, I was playing around creating my own website using AI the other day, and if I can do it, then I'm imagining young people who are brought up on the internet can do it. What makes you so confident that this is all within the continent's grasp?
I think if you meet enough people in South Africa and Africa, you build this crazy confidence. I mean, I don't know if you saw a video posted by Rassi the other morning on his Twitter after we beat France, and that made me extremely patriotic. But it was a deep hope that we have the dog in us to fight and to drive and to move. But then you just have to spend a little bit of time in Kenya and Nigeria and others, Morocco. I mean, the youth are keen and they're on fire. They just need to be given the opportunity. So meet enough people, and you'll see the deep skills, the young population we have. We can do this, man.
Are there any projects that we could look to, Martin, on the African continent? You mentioned Kenya, Nigeria, Morocco, and we've been speaking a lot about South Africa, but projects that you believe are quite turnkey or worthy of being put on the best practice scale that the continent is already implementing, because we know the innovation is there, the talent is there, the opportunity is what's needed, and the infrastructure to allow young people to be able to innovate.
Yeah. So I think there's a few programs around zero-rated data for specific resources that just give people access, and spreading infrastructure to areas where people don't necessarily have it. I mean, hopefully Starlink now with their recent news helps us get there. So perhaps they can come to the party and give Africa some internet access. Then I think very practically as well, a lot of the money that gets poured into technology ventures comes from big hedge funds or VC funds. But we do need a bit of capital to push into maybe not 10x companies that every private equity firm is looking for, but maybe 10x return in social and capital and skill capital that we can give people a go and let them try something in the markets. And if they fail, they fail. But at least we've built some skill in people and moved. And then I really think the guys at CodeSpace have got something right. To put someone into a fully developed engineer to go and code in financial services enterprise in 4 to 6 months for very low cost is something we have to offer, and possibly push people away. I'm not saying don't go to university, but with the sort of digital skills that are now in demand, getting to market quicker is a hell of a lot easier. And I mean, someone said to me at work the other day, but how can I get skilled on AI? I don't have any resources. And I was like, use AI to build yourself a training plan, and then you'll get skilled. So yeah, but the key thing is people need sponsorship on those resources. And I think that's where the G20 countries and enterprises can come to the party.
I was going to say, you mentioned data, but even a laptop is well beyond the reach of a young kid
Exactly.
in the Eastern Cape or anywhere in the continent who wants to just get onto the internet.
Exactly, yeah.
So
the practical hardware is quite key as well.
Yeah. And talking about that, could you highlight perhaps, Martin, some of the other main barriers that you see to implementing these global digital skills strategies across the continent?
I think it's, John probably summarized it well, is just in terms of infrastructure and channels to do so. And then we are very rural in many senses. We are split quite far and spread wide. We're not highly concentrated with the likes of India and Vietnam. I suppose India does have quite a rural aspect. But it comes down to capital as well, and building up more metropolitan and developed areas that we can actually give people to have access to that. So yeah, it's definitely a problem worth solving, but not an easy one.
All right, we have to leave it there. Thank you very much, Martin van der Zeer, Strategy Lead, Group Technology at Sanlam. Thank you very much.
You're listening to the National Pulse.
So that's the G20 and B20. Talking about technology, let's see if anything comes out of it. As the agenda shifts towards practical action on digital skills. We spoke about some of that yesterday. We're talking about it again today. What do you make of that? As always, phone line's open. WhatsApp line is open as well, 0614 104 107. You can give us a call on 086 000 2032. Coming up after headlines, we'll take a couple of voice notes. I see the Madlanga Commission is still on the go. We might go back to that. We're going to get an update from that KwaZulu-Natal police briefing that was held earlier, including James Stewart Sharnick's criminal record and the deleting thereof. We're going to get an update on that. And then Defend Our Democracy will be chatting to us. They're talking about, or they're reacting to Donald Trump's decision not to attend the G20 meeting. So all of that and plenty more coming up. It's 4:30. Let's get news headlines with Ondela.
Thank you, John. On the news headlines, Parliament's ad hoc committee has taken a unanimous decision not to continue with the testimony of the Chief of Staff of the Police Ministry, Cedric Nkabinde. He was appearing before the committee that is looking into allegations of criminal infiltration, corruption, and political interference in the justice system. Firefighters from the Cape Winelands District Municipalities, Fire Services and Cape Nature are still busy with firefighting efforts in the Montagu, Ashton and Dorrance areas. And the U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has called for international action to halt the flow of weapons to Sudan's paramilitary rapid support forces. This follows reports of mass killings in the North Darfur capital, Al-Fasher. A full update follows at the top of the hour with Greg House.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the M2 westbound in central Johannesburg has a crash reported at Crown Interchange, and the M3 southbound in Lindbro Park, a stationary vehicle at Marlborough Drive. In KZN, the M3 eastbound has a stationary truck reported before Camperdown, and in Cape Town, the N2 Nelson Mandela Boulevard outbound, a stationary vehicle at Hospital Bend, and Main Road northbound, slow moving through central Muizenberg. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Domin Kapele.
Pirates fan, hey? You're a Pirates fan? Are you a Pirates fan?
I'm an all-teams fan.
All-team fan. Tell me the kit you're wearing today.
I'm wearing a Pirates jersey. Like, I also wear Sundowns jersey. I wear Chiefs jersey. I wear all these jerseys. Is this the first time you see me in a football jersey?
No, but I'm just noticing this one. I don't know what this
one is. The third kit, just by the way, if you're looking at us or watching us on YouTube.
Is that camo or?
Yeah, something like, so
pink camo.
What color is this?
That's pink?
No, this color.
Blue, that's blue.
Is this blue?
That's blue.
No, this is like lilac.
You see, this is the difference between girls and boys. You see, there's blue, red, and green. There's only three colors.
It's lilac and pink and black. This is the Pirates' third kit.
So when would they wear that? Hopefully,
when they're away somewhere.
Very rarely. What's happening?
Well, Athletics South Africa acting president John Matane says that preparations for the eagerly awaited national 10-kilometer championships scheduled to take place in Mangaung on Saturday are progressing smoothly. The event will form part of the North Ridge Mall Marathon in the Free State province, and top athletes just like Glenn Rose Kaba and Jerry Mozau, amongst others, are expected to battle for national glory.
The 15th of November, there is a 10-kilometer championship, ASA championship, incorporated with the Free State Athletic. Everything's in well advanced. We have sent our delegation to make sure that the event take place. We were informed that 14 provinces has already been entered. I think 56, if not 54 athletes, provincial athletes will be competing in a championship. Everything is fine. We are waiting for Saturday for the competition, and the provinces will compete amongst themselves.
Well, then, for the first time in Olympic history, athletics will take place throughout the entire duration of the Games, from the opening day right through to the closing ceremony. The athletics competition will start on the 15th of July 2028, with the women's 100-meter taking center stage on the very first day of the Olympic action. All three rounds, including the final, will take place on that particular day. Meanwhile, cricket, baseball, and squash have also been confirmed
Yeah.
at the LA 2028 Olympic Games schedule, and I'm still waiting for netball to be included in the Olympics.
I agree. How many countries play netball though? I think that might be the problem.
The problem is now I think it's now Commonwealth kind of like
Yes, yeah, it's Commonwealth game,
countries, so it's not that popular in Europe. So I think
Americans
that
don't play; they play
yeah.
basketball. I'm betwixt and between with athletics. I get it,
Mm.
but what was nice about the Olympic Games? First week was swimming,
Mhm.
and South Africa won all their medals.
Yeah.
And then the second week was athletics. So you kind of look forward to it.
You do look forward to it, right?
And then they crammed everything into a week. But now it's going to be spread out. And remember, with times and things, it's going to be in the state, LA, which is what, 11 hours from us. And they'll probably do it at night now, which means it all happens at night. You don't get those daytime things.
No.
I'm not sure.
I'm also like, I don't know. It'll be different.
It's
It'll
going to
be
be,
very
yeah,
different.
it's going to be different.
Well, then in football, SAFA president Danny Jordan says that FIFA is doing its best to level the playing field between Europe and the rest of the world, with the FIFA Under-17 World Cups now an annual event for both men and women. 9 of the 10 African countries that traveled to Qatar for the newly expanded 48-team Under-17 World Cup have advanced to the last 32 knockout phase, which begins tomorrow. South Africa is one of those countries and will play Japan on Saturday in the last 32 match. Well, then moving on to cricket, Sri Lanka cricket has ordered its players to stay in Pakistan. This is despite security fears after yesterday's suicide bombing in Islamabad that killed 12 people. Some players had asked to return home, but the board warned that anyone leaving early will face formal review. The Pakistan Cricket Board had shifted the remaining ODIs against Sri Lanka to tomorrow and the third match on Sunday. And definitely a sensitive issue for Sri Lanka players because remember in 2009 there was an attack that left 6 of their players injured. So a catch-22, or is Sri Lanka just being like
No, I think
careless?
good. No, not being careless. Just got to be careful. Stay close. Don't move. Isn't that what you're told?
Yeah, stay there, don't go anywhere. But their fear, is it not justified?
No, fear is justified. But then there's probably so much security around where they are now, as opposed to being in a bus and being in an airport. And
Especially with suicide bombers, is there enough security?
Scary times.
Very scary.
It's worrying that it's happening in Pakistan again. Remember, they stopped hosting matches because of this.
Yeah.
And finally they opened. It was earlier this year, last year,
And here we
and
are.
now here we are again. It's sad, man.
Very crazy. Ending things off with rugby, Springbok utility back Damian Willemse says Italy will pose a strong all-round challenge when the sides meet at the Allianz Stadium in Turin on Saturday.
Yeah, look, I think Italy has really built their game. They a lot like an all-core team. They can defend, they can attack, and yeah, they've got brilliant players. Capuazzo, Canone. Yeah, they've got great players that they can pull the strings for them. So yeah, I think definitely it's gonna be a big challenge, especially in the air. I think firstly that's gonna be a big battle, and then obviously set piece wise, we know they're a good moving side. They can take it up front as well. Yeah, I think they basically got a all court game. As I said, they set piecely very strong. In the air, it's going to be a big battle. Their wingers, they're not scared to get up and at the ball. And then yeah, defensively they're really good team. So yeah, we'll be ready for the challenge.
I mean, I'm just thinking about the athletes that are going to be competing at the 2028 Olympics.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, we know that the likes of Noah Lyles will be there, Thompson, but in terms of South Africa,
Well, you think our guys are still there, hey? They're about, but it's silly. 2028. And what are we? 2020? Okay, it's 2026 now. It's such a long
it is,
ways.
but yet a short time at the same time.
Can you imagine if you're an Olympic sprinter, you're towards the autumn of your career. Now you've got 2.5 years before the Olympic Games. What do you
Sure.
do? You just carry on carrying on in the hope, or do you go,
Like
okay?
a Kani Simbini.
Yeah, I mean he's still world class, but in a sprinter's world, when you've got youngins who are 17 years old, they'll be 19,
Bayanda or Lazar.
or an 18-year-old will be 20 at the time, 21 at the time, and you think like, I gotta beat these guys. It's gonna be. I love
Tough.
Olympic Games. It's my favorite.
Love them.
Just, I hope they don't water down the athletics too much.
Hopefully not.
The Expresso Morning Show has been nominated in 5 categories in the 3rd Annual National Film and Television Awards South Africa.
It all happens on Saturday, the 22nd of November 2025 at the South African State Theatre in Pretoria. And public voting is open from the 13th of October to the 20th of November at midday.
So visit nationalfilmacademy.com, register and vote for Expresso Morning Show in all 5 categories.
Then, of course, catch us weekdays 6 to 9 a.m. right here on S3.
SAFM commemorates Disability Rights Awareness Month under the theme Celebrating 30 Years of Democracy, Creating Strategic, Multi-Sectoral Partnerships for a Disability-Inclusive Society. SAFM supports and works tirelessly towards equity and equality for those with disabilities. Empowerment is key. Let us break the barriers and improve the quality of life for those with disabilities. Our efforts towards a better life for those with disabilities can only be impactful when we do so together. We do not tolerate any kind of discrimination. Disability Awareness Month 2025 on SAFM 104 to 107 FM nationwide, leading the conversations that move us.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Get an update on the numbers with Baswana Mpahlele, Senior Accounts Manager at Makwe Fund Managers. I see investment company Brait have got some half-yearly results out. What are they looking like?
Definitely, they came through with the half yearly end in September. They got a diversified portfolio which has helped yield difference. The net asset value was up 5%. When you look at their core assets, is the Virgin Active, they're showing a down in the EPG up to 5%. The operations are recovering revenue on the likes of areas like South Africa. In the UK, showing up double digits and customer demand, especially those high guys, yes, that's under some of the but look, their margins are expanding. Premier is another asset that continues to do well. Double digit. They're supportive of the cash flow, especially other measure will help improve their net asset value going forward as they leverage. So, especially new businesses from the UK retail front. The UK is going through a lot of pressure. The overall steady recovery, thanks to those cash premium and rebounding in net income and the Virgin Active and the super down on this return. Then when we look at the market today, we just review of how a gold will look for trade in South Africa in terms of an economic scenario. And as the rand goes 17 rand for the first time in years, lows of 2021, it was money coming into the African market. Investors are now discounting of percent growth eventually, thanks to the growth in lower inflation at the back of the budget. Look at the inflation target in place. The regulatory benefits of consumers and businesses. What other boosts like the fuel prices that need lows of dollars and 20 cents a barrel. Gold is benefiting more on the rate cut. The data confirms as it is up 0.6 at 4,200 pounds. Yes, U.S. economy is reopened and the global support because of the incoming data that is being planned. Consensus is more of a caution, and we see that the U.S. market has 0.7 down. Europe would be next down 0.7, JC leading to the see the report based on industrial is up finance one and when this yes, 70 is held at 1 and the euro 1977 and then there's a 40.
That's my name. Thank you very much, Senior Accounts Manager at Makwe Fund Managers.
You are listening to John Gerika on SFM.
All right, we got to go back a little bit to talk about this story where James Stewart Sharnek was expected to open a case against crime intelligence head Dumisani Khumalo on Wednesday. That's after Khumalo testified at the Madlanga Commission, where he linked Sharnek to suspended National Police Commissioner for Crime Detection, Lieutenant General Shadrack Sabia. Khumalo said a vehicle driven by Sabia was registered under Sharnek's name. Testifying before the commission in Pretoria, Khumalo said the Toyota Bakkie driven by Sabia on the day of a police raid was registered under Sharnek. Let's find out a little bit more because since then, today, the police in KwaZulu-Natal briefed the media on the SAPS KZN provincial or at the KZN provincial headquarters on not just the Sharnek story, but also other investigative matters in the Madlanga Commission. SABC News reporter Musa Zulu was at the briefing today. Should we start with the James Stewart Sharnek's story? What was revealed for us today?
Greetings to you, John, and the listeners at home. So the biggest takeaway from today's press briefing by the president was Natal. One is that the question and intent to challenge Chanek's video. Now you remember he was in cases of trafficking and most of these consolidated and he paid 150,000 rand fine. 5 years suspended. Now the acting commissioner in KwaZulu-Natal for crime detection makes poll. The total number of these actually is 29. Now these will include GBV assault of firearms, transacting and property. Another bombshell that was up beginning the employee base at South Criminal Records Center deleted some of the information inside Shanek's records, information that he said would have otherwise painted him in a not so positive light. Now he says fortunately this information has been recovered from the back and the investigation has been launched to determine if the employee was acting on someone else's. Another major talking point, John, was that they are questioning how Sonic was granted the firearm license when he had a criminal record at the time, saying as had their profile, Sonic owned 5 firearms.
Was the consolidation of all those charges into one raised and questioned?
Yes, so from what we could get from the sub leadership in case, they are actually questioning how that came about, citing that obviously Sonic's cases are 29 in the province alone, and saying that before Sonic publicly disclosed that information, they were not aware of this deal and also some of these cases, saying that after he told that at the time when he mentioned the case like Kumalo, that is when they picked up and then they actually kept the profile on him. So they are saying now they will be approaching the National Prosecuting Authority to try and review some of those cases.
Maybe just editorial from my side. Sonic went onto TV and he almost dared the police in some way, and the police have stood up and said, "All right, here we go. There's the evidence."
Yeah, definitely, because even Popol actually mentioned that they were not aware of his dealings and some of his cases. It was actually topic that led to them actually going to review the cases, which they tend to do.
What else has came out of the police today around the Madlanga Commission?
So it was mainly centered about around Spanish
Mhm.
and also when asked by reporters in terms of why now are they only planning on challenging the deal that Spanish has with the court in terms of his cases. They say that by him, virtue of him opening the case against the now suspended crime boss Kumalo, is taking an attack on SAP, so to speak. So they're saying, in a way, they felt the need as President Zuma come forward and say, since some of these cases that you challenged were open in the province, so they feel the need to come forward and actually set the record straight when it comes to these cases.
Yeah, talk about this clearing of his criminal record. They know exactly what time it was done, and as you say, an investigation into who did it. It had to be from within the police service, right?
Yes, so they didn't give out much in terms of this particular employee, which we were told that is based in the actual process of staff, and is suspected of having deleted those records for Shannon. So they didn't really delve into that of that information regarding basically looked into in terms of if that employee was someone order. So it was just a mistake.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. It's to find out where it came from. Did somebody just do it because they felt like it, or were they told to do it? That's going to be the investigation.
Yes, so that's what they're trying to establish.
Okay, all right, we'll keep a close eye on that. Thank you very much to our SABC News reporter, Musa Zulu, down in KwaZulu-Natal, after the SAPS in the provincial headquarters. They're investigating matters on the Madlanga Commission, including James Stewart Sharnick's criminal record.
SAFM is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio. You're listening to the National Pulse.
Madlanga Commission is going on for a little while today, so what we'll do is go back there and bring you up to date with what's happening. Former Kurulani Municipality Employee Relations Head, Olani Nklisa, is still giving his testimony at the Commission.
That certificate exists. So can you share it along with that letter that you referred to of 1 March?
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yes, we'll attend to that. Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay. So, paragraph 128, with all my dedicated service and accomplishments in the municipality, and I can assure you, commissioners, I have a lot of things that I've done for the municipality. I don't even think that I actually took you through my experiences where at some point I was held hostage. There's a point where there was a red tax fund that was established in an attempt to assassinate me in 2011. And also some other things where indeed I have experienced a lot of attempts even on my life and my person as a result of me defending the municipality. I was suspended surreptitiously without even being afforded a contractual opportunity to advance representations to be heard. This matter is still to be finalized in arbitration proceedings. I referred a dispute in September 2023. Some 26 months down the line, I still have not been accorded justice. And primarily because the municipality has done everything to delay the matter. The initial team that was dealing with the matter, commissioners, to give you a picture of what has been happening. They had an advocate who had a pupil in the matter. Then they had an attorney who had a candidate in the matter. So we had 4 lawyers, effectively. And then that entire team is no longer involved. They started off, removed the attorney, and then the advocate. Now they have an attorney and an advocate, so 6. And then I was summarily dismissed without a disciplinary hearing for a qualification that the municipality took me to. The academic institution provided evidence of the qualification, but nonetheless, I was terminated. In this particular matter, they had a advocate and 2 attorneys in the dismissal matter. That advocate also dropped the matter. At some point, this matter commenced in March 2024. It is still ongoing as we speak as well. And again, all sorts of things have happened to make sure that the matter doesn't finish.
Is it before the bargaining council?
Yes, both of them are before the bargaining council. So you had 3 legal practitioners in the dismissal matter. In the disciplinary matter, you had 3. You had the attorney was presiding, an attorney and an advocate. So all in all, the number of lawyers that have been used by the municipality in my matters are 12 attorneys. On top of the resources that were used to harass me, 12 attorneys. And I've only used a shop steward in all of them. My suffering was for one thing and one thing only. On numerous occasions, commissioners, Dr. Mashazi, would accuse me of not being loyal to her. She has done this in front of the chief of police, the CFO, the CIO. She has indicated, when you are not loyal to me, I appointed you, but you are not loyal to me. And that is exactly why I find myself in the predicament that I'm in. I was not loyal to Dr. Imogen Mashas. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. That's the conclusion of Mr. Ngwiza's. My apologies.
Mr. Ngwiza, it's unrelated to this last part of your evidence, but it is touched.
Mr. Ngwiza, I'll quote to you something that was said by Commissioner Spies, and then I'll put a question to you. On the 10th of November 2025, Commissioner Spies said the following: our disciplinary agreement has already been touched on. It deals with all municipal employees in exactly the same manner, irrespective if you are a plumber or an admin clerk or a police officer. We are dealt with in terms of that disciplinary agreement in that manner. I skip some parts of this evidence, and he continues. A municipal police officer is treated, does not matter what crimes they committed, they are treated as if they are a normal council employee, and they are not treated as if they are police officers, which can intimidate witnesses, and therefore the public does not want to come and testify in our disciplinary cases. I skip again. That is one of the problems that we have in this environment where we are dealing with officers. I end the quote there. As an expert in HR management issues, do you share Commissioner Spies' concerns about disciplining Ekurhuleni police in exactly the same way civilian employees are disciplined? If you do, why is that so?
I will deposit a response, Chair, by referencing something that the second chief of police of the city of Ekurhuleni once said. We were at a budget steercom meeting. Unfortunately, I'm an institutional memory person. You know, this is around 2007 or so. And that chief of police was one Robert McBride. We're sitting in a meeting, we're dealing with the budget issues, trying to make a determination of how to adjust the budget of the municipality. And the then city manager had problems with the submissions that were made by EMPD. And Chief McBride, as he was then, commented to the executive mayor, the late Dumangos. He says, Comrade Duma, this is not correct. I'm a policeman. I'm not going to be dictated upon by a civilian. This notion that police will be treated like any other department or like any other employees is nonsense. It must stop. We laughed.
And perhaps for context, parts of what I skipped say, this being said by Commissioner Spies, that with SAPS, the process is different.
It's different.
Please continue.
Yes. We laughed. I mean, it was Robert, but there is truth to what he was saying. And one agrees, and indeed, I know that the Chiefs Forum has raised this issue, and it is something that SALGA, as the employer organization, needs to zoom into. You can't have a one-size-fits-all arrangement. The police are in a command structure. They are uniformed service, the Metro Police. There is, for instance, a notion of you obey and complain later, you know, whereas in the civilian structure, you know, you seek consent. You know, employees will tell you that, no, I'm not going to agree to this transfer. I'm not going to agree to that. There must be some consent. There must be some agreement. There must be some procedure. And sometimes police require a different approach. You know, I agree fully that indeed it's an issue that the sector must look into. This collective agreement that we are talking about has been extended to 2028. It expired in 2023. Parties extended it, and then now they've extended it to 2028.
Ongoing testimony from the former Kuruleni Municipality Employee Relations Head, Kalani Kliza. There, it sounds as if they've wrapped up with him. We'll keep a close eye on what's happening there this afternoon. Normally, after 5 o'clock, we'd go to the ad hoc committee in Parliament. That was cut short today. We're going to hear from our reporter, Zelene Merrington, who was at the ad hoc committee, and she will tell us exactly what happened there. Also, after the news at 5 o'clock, Defend Our Democracy has reacted to Donald Trump's decision not to attend the G20 meeting, saying it's a continuation of a persistent campaign to not only undermine our sovereignty, but also seeks to spread disinformation. Look forward to having that conversation. It's 1 minute past 5.
Ad hoc committee ends testimony of Mkunu's chief of staff and call for action to stop weapons for Sudan's RSF. Good day to you. Parliament's ad hoc committee has taken a decision not to continue with the testimony of Police Minister Senzo Mkunu's chief of staff, Cedric Nkabinde. He was appearing before the committee probing allegations of criminal infiltration and political interference in the justice system. He had trouble providing clarity to the committee on the sequence of events when he made contact with controversial Northwest businessman Brown Mokgotsi. Several MPs said Nkabinde's statement before them was misleading and unacceptable. Committee Chairperson Mulapi Lekhanyan.
Honorable members, you have said it here that we are not in a position, or we are in no position to proceed with today's hearing, given the quality of information that has been presented before this meeting.
The former Kulileni municipality's employee relations head, Tulangisa, has testified that it's unheard of that Julius Mkhwanazi was promoted to the position of Deputy Metro Police Chief without due process. He testified at the Madlanga Commission in Pretoria that Mkhwanazi was awarded the position despite disciplinary process against him not being finalised. Mkhwanazi's been at the centre of corruption allegations after approving the fitting of blue lights in private vehicles of alleged cartel member Vusimuzi Kat Matlala. He was suspended this week. Ngisa's testimony corroborates that of suspended Police Chief Jabulani Mabiye, who also claimed that Mkhwanazi was promoted to the job without a recommendation from the panel.
This individual had allegations of gross dishonesty. Yes, a process was implemented to quash the processing of those allegations, but nonetheless the allegations still remain. They are there and they have never been disproven. No matter what they did, whatever Mashaz and Klashega and Behari did, those allegations have never been disproven. Then you promote the person. The allegations are still lingering. Whatever they have done, the allegations are still lingering. So that's why for me, it only honestly sent shivers down my spine.
The SABC TV News head of output, Mngesi Shivambos, described Ikakwezi FM bulletin writer and reader Themba Sindane as a talented broadcaster who excelled in indigenous language broadcasting. He passed away on Saturday after a short illness. Sindane, who was a respected newsreader in the Indebele language, began his career at the SABC in 2005. Shivambo was speaking at Sindane's memorial service at the SABC in Auckland Park, Johannesburg.
Our English service stations, like your SABC News Channel, like your SAFM, they hardly gather 200,000 listeners, viewers. But when you get to the language stations, all our language television channels reach up to 14 million viewers a week. So you get to understand who is the most important people at the SABC. It's not the people who speak English. No, it's people like Abotemba. Now, when you lose such talent, it becomes a crisis.
Firefighters from the Cape Winelands District Municipality's fire services in Cape Nature are busy with firefighting efforts in the Montague, Ashton and the Durans areas. Municipal spokesperson Joanne Otto.
There is currently no threat to property. The fire that started last Friday in the Kochmanskloof Mountains above Zolani outside Ashton, however, continues to frustrate firefighting efforts. A small active spot remains on the high peaks above the Guano Caves near Montague, and on the opposite side of the mountain, above Sarah's Valley, the fire line has spread into rocky areas. The slightly cooler temperatures today have been assisting teams in their containment efforts.
The U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has called for international action to stop the flow of weapons to Sudan's paramilitary rapid support forces. This follows reports of mass killings in the city of El Fasher. He was speaking at the close of the G7 meeting of foreign ministers in Canada.
Something needs to be done to cut off the weapons and the support that the RSF is getting as they continue with their advances. I think it's telling, the humanitarian groups are telling us that some of the levels of malnutrition and suffering that they're seeing from some of these people who have been able to flee is unprecedented.
Top story, Parliament's ad hoc committee has taken a decision not to continue with the testimony of the police minister's chief of staff. That's SAFM News, I'm Greg Huss.
In sports this hour, Erasmus makes 11 changes as Boks face Italy. And in the business of sport, we talk the business of high rocks. More details at 5:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N1 southbound in Midrand, queuing towards Buccleuch interchange. The R24 eastbound in Kempton Park has roadworks reported with traffic restrictions towards the R21 airport interchange. And the M2 westbound in central Johannesburg has a crash reported at Crown interchange. In KZN on the M7, there's truck congestion at South Coast Road, so expect delays. And on South Coast Road, truck congestion in the Rosberg area, so expect delays there. In Cape Town, on the N2 inbound, there's a crash before Bunker Avenue. On the N7 Jakes Hadwell Drive northbound in Goodwood, a truck crash at Voortrekker Road, and Frans Conradi Drive in Brackenfell has a crash reported at Okavango Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable. You receive up to 745,000 Rand worth of legal services per year. Our range of plans include cover for you, your spouse, children, and extended family. Plans include cover for civil, criminal, and labor-related matters. Whether it's protection orders, gender-based violence, uncontested divorce, or poor service, your Clientele Legal lawyer will be there to assist you. Our services are convenient. Simply pick up the phone and call your lawyer or send us an email and we'll get back to you. All plans include a bail benefit of up to 5,000 Rand and we'll go to the police station and pay it for you. Plus, Clientele Legal offers you 24-hour telephonic legal advice. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195. Clientele General is an authorized FSP and licensed non-life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
48 nations, one dream.
The FIFA Under-17 World Cup hits Qatar and Mzansi's Amajimbos are in the fight.
It's game on everywhere. From 3 to 27 November, catch the action live on SABC Plus, SABC Radio, and SABC TV.
Download SABC Plus now. Stream, listen, watch.
SABC Sport, for the love of the game.
Attention everybody. Diabetes affects millions of people in South Africa. Akwele is inviting everyone to unite for a healthier tomorrow. Our mission? To beat diabetes together. How? Get tested. Choose water. Eat healthy. Get active. Every bottle of Akwele natural spring water you buy makes a difference. Together, let's beat diabetes.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
You are listening to John Gericka on SFM.
John in Firestruff is 5:10. Good afternoon or good evening to you now. We're going to take phone calls and WhatsApp voice notes later on in the show. So get those in now. 086 000 2032 if you want to chat, or you can send a voice note. 0614 104 107 is the number. A few have come through already. We'll play those later on, but we do like more. 0614 104 107. But now, let's talk about Defend Our Democracy. They've reacted to Donald Trump's decision not to attend the upcoming major event, the G20 meeting. He said because they say a continuation of a persistent campaign to not only undermine our sovereignty, but also seeks to spread disinformation and sow racial division within South Africa's public discourse. Let's talk to Naledi Kwali, who's a Defend Our Democracy Executive Director. Naledi, thank you very much. In your press release that came out earlier today, you say the repetitive disinformation about South Africa regarding an Afrikaner genocide as anti-unconstitutional democracy. Where's that coming from, this Africa genocide?
Good afternoon, John, and thank you for having us. I think we've gone through a period where we've seen these allegations come forward, and we've also seen the pushback and the rebuttal of this alleged sort of African genocide that's taking place in South Africa. And I think whenever we see the world move towards either right-wing or populist narrative and centralize that in public discourse, you see that certain countries then become targeted, particularly countries that prioritize discourse, inclusion, and democracy. So for us, these statements are both bizarre and untrue. And the resurgence is what makes it ultimately frustrating, because they are said in the spirit of a need for action, a need for intervention. And there's no need for intervention because essentially there is no genocide. Well, there is a genocide, it's just not in South Africa.
So where's
and it is not within the Afrikaner community.
Where's Donald Trump getting his information from?
It's essentially manufactured propaganda. From, we're going to be honest, looking at the current affairs that have taken place over the last few years, there are certain organizations that have engaged the U.S. administration to claim that there is a white genocide in South Africa. One of those has recently backpedaled and said they did not say there's a white genocide, they alluded to something else. And once again, that is untrue, and it has been proven to be untrue. So We know that he's getting information from certain right-wing organizations in South Africa. But what's furthermore bizarre is the refusal for him to actually come to South Africa and satisfy himself that there is in fact a white genocide, whereas there is none.
Argentina joining in, Mexico also not coming, Xi Jinping. Do you think this is the fall of the big leaders coming because of Donald Trump's decision?
When we look at the type of engagement that's been happening on the international front with regards to sort of tariff discussions, with regards to the tariff war that we saw earlier between China and America, it would be difficult to draw the inference that Donald Trump's statements are linked to why other countries are not coming. While there is sort of a link with when you look at the Argentinian perspective in the shift towards sort of a more right-wing and populist narrative. With others, that there is a concerted effort to maybe engage, and with the understanding that since the war in the Ukraine, Russia has not attended any of the G20 summits. So I think for certain countries, there's a need to engage them individually on their absence.
Just back to the Afrikaners, there are a group of Afrikaners, and just recently a group of Afrikaners who denied it. There are a group of Afrikaners that are adamant that this, not necessarily a genocide, but there is discrimination against them to try and get rid of the Afrikaner culture. What do you say to them?
That is wholly untrue. And it is not steeped in any sort of factual basis. When taking into context South Africa's history and certain measures that have been put in place to try and create equilibrium as well as address issues that have been persistent not only in the past but that we still deal with today, I think the fear may speak more to the idea of equality possibly being offensive rather than this concerted effort to eradicate the Afrikaner community in South Africa. In fact, the opposite seems to be true, where there is more inclusion, there is more diversity, and there is openness to experiencing other cultures than this need to eradicate. And if we're then going to speak of violence, it's safe to say that we have issues of violence in South Africa that go beyond the need to eradicate or a genocide that is geared towards the Afrikaner community. If we are going to have a conversation about violence, let the conversation be about how violence affects everyday South Africans and not try and make it specific to the African community because then it draws those instances that relate to victimhood. Whereas instead of addressing issues that affect all of our lived experiences.
We saw that advert by Solidariteit saying that welcome to South Africa, all the race laws, what is it, 140 that they're claiming? Your comments on that?
I think when you look at the rate of inequality in South Africa, it's growth, democratic dispensation, you would say that those claims are not necessarily supported by fact. And we need to separate legislation that seeks to bring about redress with legislation that seeks to discriminate against certain groups in South Africa. And also to highlight the idea of things like affirmative action and seeking to afford an opportunity not just to Black people specifically, but also the inclusion of gender and people with disabilities in that conversation. So when we're going to say, South Africa's got lead in legislation, there is a need to take into context Africa's history, where we come from, and what this legislation that is present that seeks to address our history of apartheid and our history of separate development. That it can't be taken out of context.
What do you hope will come out of the G20 for, and they're focusing a lot on Africa, but let's start with South Africa and then onto the continent?
I think first there are some issues that reign as a priority when we look at issues that relate to the climate crisis that we're facing, issues around the digital economy, as well as sustainable and inclusive growth. And those are the things that I think fundamentally require redress when it comes to the African context, particularly one that speaks to sort of rapid response mobilization for certain disasters and also the ability to build resilience. And when we think about the experiences Africa has had with some natural disasters, I think it is important to see what those outcomes look like. The question of debt as well is a big one, and the mobilization of finance for energy transition. So those are some that are relevant not just to the African context, but to those who are part of the developing countries.
Can we do that without USA, China, Russia?
I think what then happens is that the role those countries play don't necessarily affect the G20 countries' ability to come to decisions, but
Right.
it will make implementation an uphill battle. But we have faith that is consistent with South Africa's policy throughout this experience that there will be constant engagement. There is that openness to engagement, although it's been made with some level of hostility in attempts to embarrass the government. There is faith in the government's ability to engage diplomatically to try and see these resolutions and decisions taken implemented.
And obviously, Europe's going to be extremely important in all of this. There are some right-leaning countries happening in Europe. I'm thinking Italy, for one of them. Will they come to the party?
Um, I think when looking at the direction that these type of politics is taking right now, it seems to be an issue of whether or not you're leaning with the sentiments that are being shared by the Donald Trump and the more right wing sort of leaning countries. And if not, then it makes your participation in this G20 summit, particularly thinking about the themes of solidarity, equality, and sustainable development. Um, when you see that you have no vested interest in those in that type of outcome, you're less likely to come. But until I think there have been public statements that are made that say they too boycott this, I think we are open to seeing the level of participation as we get nearer to the summit.
Right, Naledi Kweli, thank you very much. Defend Our Democracy Executive Director with their views. What do you make of that? 086 000 2032.
This season, make Christmas magic together with Spar and Super Savings. Like 500 gram Spar cornflakes, buy 2 for 50 Rand plus 100 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Or 2-liter Spar Extra Shelf Life Milk for 29.99 plus 50 megs free data on Spar Mobile. Price is valid from 10 to 23 November 2025. While stocks last. T's and C's apply.
Mr. Governor, congrats on the retirement. You just sold your car to We Buy Cars. Tell us about it.
Yes, it just gathered dust in the garage, so I exchanged it for cold hard cash. Now my wife and I can enjoy a stress-free retirement.
Retiring the car as you retire. Nice. So why We Buy Cars?
It was so quick. They came over to our house to do the evaluation, and we sold it the same day. Tops, man.
Okay, so now you got even more time on your hands, eh?
Exactly.
We Buy Cars. Geared for your next chapter. Geared for you.
Streaming Skim Sum on the way to class.
Catching the Premier League while waiting for your order.
Jamming to Metro FM before you even get out of bed.
On SABC Plus, sinayo yonke into ifunayo. Your shows, your music, your way, anytime, anywhere. Zero subscription fees.
On your phone, tablet, or smart TV.
Download SABC Plus on iOS or Google Play Store.
You're listening to the National Pulse.
All right, let's go to Parliament today, where the ad hoc committee investigating allegations made by Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Nkwenazi has instructed Cedric Nkabinde, the Chief of Staff to Suspended Police Minister Senzo Mchunu, to amend his contradictory statement. They ended the ad hoc committee early today. Let's hear more from our reporter there, Zelene Merrington.
Nkabinde told the evidence leader, Advocate Norman Arendse, SC, that he was given the number of Mokgotsi by the now placed on special leave Police Minister Senzo Mchunu to line up a meeting.
Did you say, or did I hear you, that you said the minister gave you Brown Mogotsi's number?
Yes, I did not know Brown Mogotsi. It was like any other guest that the minister will want me to facilitate and give me details of that guest.
So you personally know of one meeting that you facilitated between
Yes, I
Mr.
only know
Mogotsi
2 meetings. One, the other meeting could not materialize.
But he then couldn't explain the sequence of events between when he had received the number and when he had confirmed Mogotsi's number to Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, leading to this exchange between him and EFF leader Julius Malema.
Did you have your gadgets when you were writing this affidavit?
No, dates, I was thumb sucking.
Some of these things are going to come across as being lies under oath because you didn't have the equipment. So this information written here is not worth the paper written on because it's thumb sucked. You get Mkwana's thing on paragraph 76, which must now help you to remember when do I get this number. You still proceed to write October even when you wrote Mkwana's thing. You are deliberately misleading us. You are deliberately misleading us. And then when we need to put that chair on the record, he's deliberately misleading us. It's a shifting goalpost. When he's caught, he says, hey, I can't remember. Oh, now I'm guided by Mkwana's.
Other MPs, such as Dereline James from Action SA, EFF MP Leanne Matthys, ANC MP Kola Ngola, and Sibonelo Nomvalo from the MKP, then also weighed in.
Mr. Nkabinde, jy mors ons se tyd hier vandag. You're really wasting our time. You've given us a sworn statement. You have sworn this morning. You now come and you say you have thumbs-up dates. You have a guided statement, and your dates are based on what previous witnesses have said. Are we really meant to probe further on a statement that is not truthful?
We must note that this is not just an oversight, it's perjury. We're talking about dates. It's not like a official residence matter and a non-residence matter. And more than likely, these dates are correct, that it was October, November, because the minister went to go and visit the mine, Stilfontein, in November, and that's documented. So it's intentional and it's perjury. And as the EFF, we're going to go and open a case of perjury after this.
Form part of the members who reject the attempt to shift the blame on the statement by the witness. Signed, and he does confirm that the information provided in the statement is the information he gave the evidence leaders.
If what we're being told here is anything to go by, it means the whole statement is misleading. So the committee can't rely on a misleading statement.
After deliberations, the committee chairperson, Molapi Lekanyane, announced that they would not continue with the meeting.
Honorable members, you have said it here that we are not in a position, or we are in no position to proceed with today's hearing, given the quality of information that has been presented before this meeting.
That's Eileen Merrington reporting for us from Parliament. It's 26 minutes past 5.
You are listening to John Gericka on SFM.
All right, calls and voice notes for this afternoon. 086 000 2032 is the phone number. You can also send us a WhatsApp. 0614 104 107. Plenty, a couple of voice notes on Nkabinde.
Good afternoon, John, man. This is Floris from the beautiful winelands. Thumb-sucking evidence. This is a disgrace, man. This Nkabinda is... And these guys are comfortable coming there and playing the victims. Sad, man. It's sad. Central chief of staff. Now, I don't know that. Now it's the first time that I see this nonsense, man. Have a good show. Bye-bye.
Good morning, Brajon. Bongo Sundisa. Hey, Brajon, it must be very embarrassing for the family of this chief of staff, Mr. Nkabinde. Like, imagine they are adjourning now because he's being economical, like with the truth. Aye, what an embarrassment. Hey, this gentleman. I give up.
There's a couple of voice notes. It wasn't moving. All right, let's try this one. Vodacom and Starlink. This was a story that broke yesterday. And I wasn't sure 100% about what the deal was about. And I'm hoping I'll be able to find out a little bit more. But let's see what your voice note has to say.
How's it, John? Justin from Durban. Hope you're well. Just to add on the technology side, Vodacom now, as partnered with Starlink, and they're going to be running across Africa. And with South Africa being the leading country in Africa, well, I hope that we are. Uh, when will we be getting it? And if you look at the pros of Starlink, it's going to be very affordable for a lot of people, especially those in the rural areas. So I hope our government catches a wake-up call and brings Starlink to South Africa. Thank you.
Yeah, Starlink's. I'm not sure about what this deal is. It was released yesterday. Starlink, Vodacom will be authorized to resell Starlink equipment and services to enterprises and small business customers in Africa. Starlink's already in 25 markets on the continent, not in South Africa. Vodacom aims to leverage the partnership to offer services that complement its already things, they say. The partnership also aligns with Vodacom's Vision 2030, harnessing Starlink. So the point is that they're going to try and they're going to make the internet access to rural parts of the continent. And yeah, I'm not sure if this opens up the option to bring Starlink into South Africa, because Vodacom, if they have the deal, wouldn't they be the BEE partner for Starlink into South Africa? And that was the hurdling block. So we'll keep a close eye on that. Let's see what else. A couple of text messages. Hi to me and John. Lovely topic. I enjoy your laughs, says an anonymous message. And Francois says it's nice to see us live on YouTube. I'm the definition of a face made for radio. It's just we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook. Where else? We're on Twitter. We're live on Twitter. I think you can find us there if you really, really want to see our faces.
John, this is Nonde in Cape Town. To say I was disappointed by the parliamentarians, will be an understatement. They were playing their pariah attitude. I must say, Senior Council Norman Arendse displayed wisdom, because the fact that Ngabane did not have his devices with him, for those days in question, which was paramount. The fact is, the gadgets were confiscated from him. I thought everybody knew that. That's why Arendse proposed that, okay, we can go ahead without the dates, as long as you know the events. Thanks, John.
Interesting views. You were there, SAFM. We'll take more voice notes. We'll take your calls first. Let's get news headlines, traffic, sport, and business all coming up first. It's news headlines.
John, a quick look at the headlines. The former Kulileni Municipality's employee relations head has described how the Metro Police was weaponized against him. Parliament's ad hoc committee has taken a decision not to continue with the testimony of the police minister's chief of staff, and government departments in the US are preparing to reopen after President Donald Trump signed a bill to end the longest shutdown in American history. There's a full update at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, rain across parts of Pretoria and Centurion reported, so please reduce your speeds and drive with care in these affected areas. On the R82 southbound in Kibler Park, slow-moving traffic towards Pierpont Drive and Allendale Road eastbound in Clercorp has delays towards Mastiff Road. In KZN, on the N2 southbound, there's a crash near the M25 Commercial Highway, the M7 eastbound queuing through Queensborough towards Belleville Road exit, and on the R34 John Ross Highway eastbound in Impangeni, a stationary truck after the N2 highway. In Cape Town, the N1 inbound in Kraaifontein has a crash at Brighton Road. On the N2 Nelson Mandela Boulevard outbound, a stationary vehicle reported before Hospital Bend, and on AZ Berman Drive in Mitchells Plain, there's a crash at Morganstair Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Doming Kapele.
All right, we're going to talk about the business and sport later, right?
Yeah.
And we didn't do it yet. The reason we didn't do it yesterday was because the guest didn't arrive, but we're talking high rocks, right?
Yes.
So what did you and I just do now?
We just tried to do one burpee.
One burpee. It's the most ridiculous thing ever. I'm going to do one again.
You want to
While,
do it
while
again?
you're doing your thing, I'm going to
Okay.
try and do one. Thing.
Okay. Let me just go through what's happening in the world of rugby. Rassie Rasmus has made 11 changes to his Springbok side that will face Italy in Turin on Saturday. Captain Siya Kolisi is one of only 4 players retained in the starting 15 alongside Juan Venter, Kurt Arendse, and Damian Willemse. Andre Pollard returns at fly half, partnering with Mornay van der Berg, while Edwin van der Merwe joins Arendse on the wings. Ethan Hooker and Kanan Moody form a new look midfield, and up front it's a complete reshuffle with Sakri Porthen and Johan Grobler joining Venter in a front row. Now, Erasmus has also gone for a 6-2 bench split with Gwaga Smith and Arya Snyman back in the mix. Well, now it's time for the business of sport.
The business of sports with Tumi Kapele.
People pay money to do that.
Yes, I actually want to do it.
Why?
Why not, guys?
I saw your
I'd rather do that. I'd rather do that
Then?
than run a whole marathon.
Let's find out why.
Well, listen, in the business of sport today, we're talking about the business behind High Rocks. As per usual, we talk to our business guru, Ngobile Ndlovu, who is joining us on the line, who is the founder of Cash and Sport. Ngobile, always great chatting to you. For those that don't know what High Rocks is all about, let's start there. What is High Rocks and what's the big deal about it?
Right. So while people are burping away at lung and dying there in the studio like John, let me explain what High Rocks is. Most of us know what CrossFit is, right? CrossFit is like a fitness event. You do stations, you have to do gymnastics lifts and all of that. It's very difficult. High Rocks is a simplified version of CrossFit. It's more running, but it has split pulls, burpees, but it's not as difficult in terms of technical difficulty as CrossFit. It's a fitness event that you can do in teams or you can do on your own, and it's time. And yeah, that's basically what High Rocks is. And it's taking over the world in terms of big time influence and being the biggest fitness event at the moment.
It really is. And I think I was reading about it. It started a couple of years ago, but it's quite interesting how we're only catching on it now. And more people want to actually, including myself, want to challenge themselves and actually take part in this. But let's talk about the money around it. How do they make money?
High Rocks has got a very clever business model. They don't own anything apart from the IP of High Rocks in terms of the idea. The way that they fund it is that they get business partners who are the gyms and the facilities that sign on and they pay to be part of the High Rocks partnership. So is that those gyms then host High Rocks classes and then they have High Rocks events either on a quarterly or on a bi-weekly basis. And people pay to be part of those High Rocks events. And the money is ridiculous. For you to pay to be part of a High Rocks event, it depends on how you enter it, but it can range all the way from 1,000 Rand to 2,000 Rand just to participate in the event. Let alone the gym membership that you have to pay to go to the same gym at the High Rocks party. Then they have sponsors and all of that give away prizes, and then they also sell merchandise as well. So yeah, it's crazy how much money they make simply from essentially having an idea of how to get people together, train, and pay to sweat, basically.
So High Rocks is a brand. It's a brand, right? So it's like MMA or UFC or those kind of things. So if you're doing High Rocks, it's a specific type of thing.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Correct. It's basically the way in which they set up their courses are exactly the same. The length of the event are exactly the same, and the stations that you go to are exactly.
It's probably like Iron Man, right? Iron Man is a brand
correct,
name. If you do an Iron Man, right? Okay, I get it.
So then I guess the big question is why are people willing to pay so much to put themselves through the sweat and everything, either by themselves or with their friends?
High Rocks aside, there's a big boom in communal fitness and people doing things together to keep each other accountable and have fun. Fun when you see your friends squirming, but you also push each other along because ultimately community is the one thing that binds us all together. And because there's this big shift towards people being fit, they want to do it with their friends and they want to have fun doing it. So events like this are growing much more. Look at paddle, for example, is another one. You know, you've got a lot more people playing golf together, and so on and so on. community groups where people can have fun and stay healthy and keep fit are growing, and people want to pay for that.
See, now I've committed to this marathon, right? But I would really like to watch you do high rocks.
Just watch me, not take part.
No, well, I would
do it
take part,
together.
but part of that would be watching you suffer. You see, so I get exactly what he's talking about.
I want to do it next year. You want to do a marathon? I want to do high rocks. I think let's just.
But you train to do high rocks, so you start high rocks tomorrow.
I'll start training.
It's expensive though. What is that? Just the licensing fee that you're talking about? That they've just decided this is what we're going to charge people.
It's the same as how if you're going to run a marathon and you have to pay an entry fee to run a marathon, right? So in the very same way, they have costs associated with putting on the high rocks events, but the costs are quite high.
Very.
So yeah.
And I guess the nice thing about it is that it's indoors, right? Am I right? Because compared to marathons,
it's mostly indoors.
Yeah.
It's mostly indoors, and it's mostly at a partner facilities. Sometimes they do have to hire out larger venues in order to have. They have these high rocks championships. So because right now they've got Planet Fitness as a national partner, you go to a Planet Fitness every morning. There's usually a high rock class, but then they would have Planet Fitness sort of high rock events, some mega events where they bring people from across the country to one central venue and they compete. And there's prizes and so on that they give away. So these are the big ones that people pay for. That cost between 1,000 and 2,000 rand to enter.
1,000 to 2,000.
I was moaning about running races that are $500.
1,000 to 2,000.
And it's no. You go do your high rock.
I'm gonna definitely do it.
What? Try and convince me. Come on.
But John, take a look at it this way.
Yeah.
If you're moaning about 500 rand to run, you're forgetting that for you to run a marathon, you need a decent pair of shoes. Those shoes are not going to cost about 1,500 rand.
Yep.
Then you've got gowns, you've got massages that you have to pay for because it hurts. When you run constantly, you get injuries.
Sure.
Then you have medical aid. Then you have flights and accommodation, because usually the races that you run are not going to be in the same city. And they can be, but the big ones are usually in Durban, Cape Town. You know what I mean? So the costs associated with running are just as high, if not more, than a high rock.
Yeah, and to be fair, I looked at a bicycle race price the other day, and that's even more expensive than the running races. You can get away with what, $300-400
you've got bicycles that cost 250,000 rand for a bicycle.
Business of sport.
Ngobile, it's always great picking your brain. Ngobile Ndlovu, who is the founder of Cash and Sport. High rocks, to do it or not to do it. I am challenging myself. Next year, I'm going to do it at least once.
But you're going to train for that?
Yeah,
all right.
Of course.
When I come in, whenever I fill in for Ashraf again,
ask me.
That will be the first question.
I'm also going to ask you about your marathon.
No, well, I'm running already, you see. How's your high rocks going?
No, don't do that.
Yeah, you see.
No, don't do that. No, John. Don't do that. Anyway.
So you thought you were building a business in this economy, but day by day, somehow it grew. You kept going when the freezer didn't freeze, the bucket didn't budge, and the bank balance barely blinked. So you thought you were building a business. You weren't. It was building you. Because this isn't just what you do anymore. It's who you are. And you don't trust just anybody to protect it. Chat to your broker about Old Mutual Insure Business Insurance. Protect what built you. Old Mutual Insure Limited is a licensed FSP and non-life insurer.
Afternoon Express is proud to be nominated in multiple categories at the 3rd Annual National Film and TV Awards taking place on Saturday, the 22nd of November. And you can add your voice by voting. Visit nationalfilmacademy.com, register and vote for Afternoon Express in the Best Entertainment Show category, Palisa Tembe for Best TV Presenter, and myself, Ayanda Jitabete, for Best Female TV Personality and Celebrity Personality of the Year. Voting closes on the 20th of November at midday.
Access to the internet is vital for any country to grow. That's why the recent 6.75 billion rand digital infrastructure deal that Standard Bank Corporate and Investment Banking facilitated between Telkom and an Actors-led consortium is so transformational for South Africa. It unlocks growth and provides internet access to underserved communities who will now have access to the internet for the very first time. Search CIB Stories of Impact to watch the full story.
Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Should have gone into sport High Rocks. Why didn't I come up with High Rocks? Let's see what's happening in the markets today. Jimmy Miyaha, what's happening?
Good afternoon, John. Good afternoon to the listeners. We're going to be taking a look at some interesting movements from a markets perspective. We'll get into those in a second. On the show, though, we're going to be looking at the FSCA's latest round of warnings. They've issued 16 warnings in 13 days around businesses that are impersonating other businesses, other individuals, and things you need to be aware of. We do this consumer awareness as often as we can, just to emphasize the importance of staying safe, especially when it comes to financial transactions and financial relationships. Then we have a conversation with the team at Standard Bank, taking a look at investor behavior throughout the 2025 year and what we can learn from that. And we have a conversation with the team at Discovery Bank, taking a look at their latest product suite from a banking perspective. They have announced today that they're adding a couple of new partnerships to their business or their banking offering, but also enhancing their safety and security on their banking platform. So we're going to get a sense of what that will look like. Then we have a conversation with one of the beneficiaries of the SAB Foundation in the form of Someone Investments. We're going to get a sense of how the SAB Foundation continues to impact businesses and communities that they are a part of, but we're going to get it from the perspective of a business that has been the beneficiary of this impact. And then we're going to wrap up the show, as we do on a Thursday, with a small business conversation. We've got an SME to spotlight. We're going to be looking at a company called Saturated. We're going to speak to the founder and CEO of that business. Before we get to all of those conversations, a sense of market movements. It's been probably one of the best days that we've seen for the South African rand. I did mention yesterday, following the midterm budget policy statement, that I expect the rand will likely breach that 17 rand level sometime in the near future. It did so overnight and into today's trade. We got as low as 16 rand 95 against the US dollar, which, for context, we haven't seen that level since around January, February of 2023. So really positive movements, even or in spite of the announcements and the confirmations that we got that President Trump will not be attending the G20 amongst others. The rand still showing some signs of strength. If we look at it against the euro at the moment, it's at 19 rand 80 or 19 rand 79 or so. We haven't seen this level since around March of this year. If we look at other movements that were taking place throughout the day, equity markets were in the green locally. A bit of a mixed bag offshore. By and large, European markets, actually all European markets with the exception of the CAC 40, finished in the red. The CAC 40 in France up about 0.4%. In Asian markets, the ASX in Sydney, again, the only market in the red, down about 0.5%, whilst the Hong Kong Hang Seng was up about 0.5%, and the Nikkei in Tokyo was up about 0.4%. US markets at the moment are in the red, with the Nasdaq down about 0.96, almost a full percent there. The S&P down about 0.5%. So we're going to take a look at the fact that US markets are, or the US economy is set to reopen now that we've got the government shutdown being halted, and we're hopefully going to see how that's going to have a positive impact on markets. But as I said, local markets did have a better day, with financials up 1.3%, industrials up 1.4%, and resources up 1/3%. The all share was up yet another 4%, as was the top 40. At the moment, the all shares at around 114,000 points, which is a level that might be very near to the all-time highs that we have seen. If I look at the top 40 side of it, definitely in all-time high territory. We've pretty much gone above what we were in October. So all of the October gains and October moves, we have eclipsed that. And from a daily perspective today, we're up about 1.4%, depending on where you're looking. We're going to look at these and other movements when we come back a little later on. But before we go, sense of some commodity movements. The Brent crude price, would be happy to know, is below $64 a barrel at the moment, whilst the platinum pricing is above $1,600 a fine ounce, and the gold price seemingly back at $4,200 a fine ounce, but it's been up and down a little bit over the day. So we're going to take a look at these and other movements a little later on when we come back. For now, John, back to you.
I just have to let you know my small little investments over these 2 weeks so far up 1.8%.
There you go.
Yeah, so you just got to wait, because it was down, as you know, when it was red last week. I was crying a little bit, but now it's back up again, so I'm all right.
Stay the course, John. Long-term investments, right?
Yeah, it's just such a small amount of money. That I love it when you guys talk about profit taking. I'm thinking maybe I'll profit take at 1.8%, but no. Thank you very much, Jimmy Moyaha. More with him in 15 minutes.
Clientele is here to safeguard you and your family with compassion because life happens. Be part of a family that truly cares. Our funeral dignity plans have helped South Africans bury their loved ones with dignity for more than 30 years. Let us help you create a meaningful tribute that honors your life and those of your loved ones. We pay out within 24 hours and you will get double accident cover with a clientele funeral plan. Our plans are affordable. Pick the option that suits your needs. Easy to apply, no medical examinations, and no paperwork. SMS SAFM to 48031. That's 48031. Clientele Life is an authorized FSP and licensed life insurer. T's and C's online. Standard rates apply.
This Monday evening at 7 on My Design Rules. It's all about comfort and style as the duos take on The Lounge. With a fully open plan living area to work with, they'll have to design with intention if they want to bring the kitchen, dining, and lounge together into one cohesive space. And each week is one step closer to the grand prize of up to 600,000 Rand in cash. That's Monday evening at 7, repeat Saturday at 2, and Sunday at 4 p.m. Only on S3.
Tune in to the soundtrack of your life with Ernest Pillay on 15 November 2025 from 1 to 4 p.m. as we broadcast live from the Speakers Firm 2025 Book Roundtable Series with Professor Bonang Mohale, Chancellor of the University of the Free State. The Book Roundtable Series is a meeting of minds and generations anchored in thought, ethics, and action. Stream the conversation live on SABC Plus as well as our digital streaming platforms from 2 p.m. Speakers Firm Roundtable Discussions, powered by SAFM. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. You're listening to the National Pulse.
I did 2 of those burpees during the High Rocks discussion. 2. I did the jump because what you got to do, you got to stand still and then you got to jump and then you do a burpee and then you got to do another jump. I did 2. I need to rest. Let's take voice notes while I'm resting. 0614 104 107 is the voice note number. Say it again. 0614 104 107. You can call as well. 086 000 2032.
Hi there, John. Just on this topic of the Afrikaner genocide, I think by, our media giving them all this attention, by us having people have to come on air and say that it's not true when anyone who lives in our country knows that what these guys are saying is not true. It just gives their argument more substance. They want us talking about them. They strive off of division. That's sort of my opinion. Let me know what you think.
You see, John, I'm surprised at what cause. Argentina, this president of Argentina, Javi Milei, is a member of, Argentina is a member of G20. Now suddenly, after Donald Trump visited Argentina, then Argentina is opting for right wing side. No, it's very strange. They make themselves Donald Trump's puppets, man. Thanks to the Puma.
Yeah, the Argentina president is very right wing, and he has been for a little while, and then he just got re-elected now. Donald Trump saying that it was because of him that he got re-elected. He was endorsing him, but it's I have seen, I don't know if it's true though. I've seen a couple of arguments to say that there might have been election interference in there, but I think that's just sort of people looking for controversy. But yeah, Argentina's been right wing for a little while. And I think because of that, Donald Trump and the president have sort of found common ground there.
Radio SAFM. It's better to listen to Madlanga Commission than ad hoc committee. In Madlanga, things are going well formally, but here in the ad hoc committee, people are fighting for their politics. Yeah, I don't understand. There is chaos there. Thank you, team from Langa.
Hi, John. SAFM listeners. Regarding Vodacom and Starlink, while it's a welcome innovation, for lack of a better word, it provides internet access, blah, blah, blah. We are quick to forget what happened in Ukraine when the war started with Russia. Starlink provided satellite internet connectivity for Ukraine, but just as Trump became president, they switched it off. What's Starlink for doing the same to South Africa? If Elon Musk wants us to do something specific and we refuse, we will be at that beck and call. Let us be careful about it. DT Cape Town. Thank you.
Good afternoon, good evening, John, Soviet, King Williamstown. Starlink, the last time I heard about the affordability of Starlink was something around the figure of 900 rand a month. If you want Starlink, you gotta fork out 900 a month. Until someone proves me wrong, me, Starlink doesn't exist. I have never heard of it. As long as there is still that 900 bucks a month, until then, will continue with my good old network from the Soviet Union.
Soviet, I think the point is that that network that you're using, and I think the Vodacom deal is part of that, that network that you're using might not be accessible in certain parts of the country, but they will use the Starlink to add to their network. And just for the prices, just so you can get the current estimate, just the hardware alone will cost you between 7 and 12,000 rand estimates, and your monthly subscription fee could be anywhere from 900 to 1,300 rand for a standard service. It could be higher or lower depending on certain tiers and things and exchange rates. But what you must remember is not everybody needs a Starlink, right? What can happen in rural areas is everybody pitches together, gets one Starlink connection, and then puts up Wi-Fi or Wi-Fi repeaters. Sure, the layout's going to be expensive, but you can put up Wi-Fi repeaters, and you can extend that Wi-Fi to a host of people who can either come to you at for free or for whatever you want to charge, and you can then supply internet to those rural communities. Not every community, not every individual needs a Starlink satellite receiver, like the television, for example. You need how many you need so many satellite dishes on how many decoders you have. What you can do is just put up a Wi-Fi, and you can have 100 people connect to that Wi-Fi, and suddenly 900 bucks becomes 90 rand. If 10 people are joining, 100 people, it's only 9 rand a month.
Afternoon, CFM. Yeah. Ad hoc committee, the acting minister, the IDEX head, NPA head. Where are they taking South Africa to? Because their statements are the same. They don't see any wrong. They tell lies to the public. They don't know. Mukonazi should have followed protocols that were not existing, and CTP system. Where are these people taking us? Thank you.
Good afternoon, John. John, I also just heard it from you now. This whole Starlink thing now. I hear from you now, so I also don't know what's going on. But tell me, what is this obsession with of Starlink with South Africa? What is wrong? What's the obsession? Because they tried before and then they were rejected. They come another on the other door now. What is this obsession with South Africa? It's really concerning, because they can make money to other countries. Why they are forcing themselves to South Africa, where South Africa already rejected them? What is this obsession? I would really like to know. So they're coming up with other corners now. They're coming in the corners of Vodacom. Tomorrow they're gonna come to MTN maybe to sell. What is this thing? What is this obsession they have with South Africa?
I think it's the other way around. Again, my opinion. I think it's the other way around. South Africans want Starlink. We're a very rural country. We have fiber, which is great, and we've got the wireless service providers, the big three. We've got some independent ones as well, but there's the big three: Cell C, Vodacom, MTN. And sometimes that's very spotty. You can go to rural areas, there's no signal. So what could happen is those rural communities and businesses are seeing the potential of putting a Starlink satellite up and having internet in the middle of nowhere for very little power, very little outlay, comparatively speaking. Still expensive, but comparatively speaking. And South Africans want it. And then from what I understand, there's the laws, the BEE laws, that you need to have a black empowerment for your business if you want to come into South Africa. And Elon Musk is saying, no, I don't want to do that. So I'm not going to supply Starlink to South Africa. And there have been a number of who's and fro's, as you've heard. But I think it's the other way around. Starlink doesn't care. Starlink's doing all right around the world. But South Africans are wanting Starlink. Starlink says, we want to come, but we're not willing to give away 30% of our business. Now, that's why this Vodacom deal is so interesting. Is Vodacom the BEE partner for Starlink so that we can buy Starlink if you would choose to? That's what I'm keeping an eye on.
Hi, John. Joe from Durban. I don't doubt the whisperings by the PayPal mafia, Musk, AfriForum, likely solidarity into Trump's ears about the so-called Afrikaner genocide. And I think the Afrikaners are overplaying the victim here. But American intelligence from South Africa would have told Trump this is not true, but I believe this is a pretext. It's a pretext to isolate South Africa and punish South Africa for BRICS, or not voting with the USA on many UN resolutions, whether it's Ukraine, Libya, etc. South Africa standing up for human rights, especially some of it in the Middle East. So a lot of it is a pretext. Afrikaners themselves should be speaking out. They should, the other Afrikaner groups beside Solidarity and AfriForum should be speaking out against this labeling of the genocide.
Hi, John. I'm John Kune here. John, there's something I don't understand. How was Mr. Ngabinde elected to this position? Number one. Number two, John, isn't it when someone writes an affidavit and oath or taking oath, even those people, they are committing themselves to say whatever they put in on that paper is true, and they put a signature. It was not the duty of the ad hoc committee to tell that person, Mr. Ngabinde, that you are contradicting your affidavit. They were supposed to leave him, continue with whatever the questions, and at the end, when the ruling or suggestion comes, then they were going to say you lied actually under oath to the committee. So I don't understand why Malema had to raise it to make the guy aware.
Afternoon, John. John, I think it's time now Reserve Bank do away with the 10 cents and 20 cents coins. No shop accept those coins. They are not buying those denominations. If you are given as change, you are just being robbed. They don't buy anything. If you give a 3-year-old 20 cents and the 10 cents, they can't take it because they know it doesn't buy anything. Anonymous.
Yeah, you see, they stopped minting the penny in the States. What's that? That's their 1 cent piece. They've stopped minting the penny in the States. So we stopped the ones. I'm old enough to remember a half-cent coin. Giving away my age now. But do we get rid of the 10s and the 20s? Start with the ront. You're with SAFM. Thank you very much for being with us. Finny pushed the buttons. Keys, Vasani, and Temba produced the show. I'm John Carrick at 6 o'clock.
Thank you, John. Palestinian refugees arrive in South Africa and ad hoc committee ends testimony of Police Minister's Chief of Staff. Good evening. A group of Palestinians has arrived in South Africa seeking refugee status. Gift of the Givers founder Imtiaz Suleiman says the organization, with other civil society partners, will provide humanitarian assistance to them.
I got hold of Zane Jango. He's in Canada. Of course, he spoke to the minister and other people in DERCO. I spoke to the Border Management Authority, other people involved in this issue, and it was about the STEM. And of course, now